Chapter 1584. Yi Shiwen's attack was extremely fast. Like lightning, he directly blasted out a sky full of fist shadows towards the two people. Bang! 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 The three people exchanged hundreds of blows in an instant, and a huge roar spread directly. Thump, thump, thump. The two people from Limitless Star Palace retreated again and again. They finally stopped with great difficulty. They looked at Yi Shiwen with incomparable horror in their eyes. For them, it was simply a miracle. It was simply impossible. The two of them were actually repelled by Yi Shiwen when they joined forces. Yi Shiwen's figure shook violently, but he was not forced to retreat. It was clear who won and who lost at a glance. Is Limitless Star Palace only at this level? It doesn't look like much, Yi Shiwen said with a sneer. The faces of the three people from Limitless Star Palace became even uglier. They were defeated by Yi Shiwen and were even mocked by him. It was simply a great humiliation, a great humiliation. Although they might not be afraid of Yi Shiwen if they really fought, they had their own trump cards. But now that they were 2 against 1 and still at a disadvantage, it could absolutely be said that they had lost all face. Especially that Zhao Wujin. At this time, his face became even uglier. Just now, he arrogantly said that the Yi clan was not as good as the people from Limitless Star Palace. Now, in just a moment, he was ruthlessly slapped in the face by Yi Shiwen in such a way. Didn't he say that the people from Limitless Star Palace were amazing? They were only SOSO. At this time, the other people from the Yi clan did not dare to underestimate them. A mere 5th level of Sky Realm could actually fight against 2 people in a row and not be at a disadvantage, let alone the others. The gazes towards the others suddenly became fearful. However, they obviously did not know that Yi Shiwen's combat strength could not be judged by this realm. In the end, Zhao Wujin could only glare at Yi Shiwen hatefully and said coldly, "You better be careful. Don't encounter people from Limitless Star Palace again. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to be arrogant." Zhao Wujin's face returned to normal. Obviously, he had great confidence. Then he said, "Let's go." After saying that, the 3 people turned around and left. Although the man and woman were extremely unwilling, there was nothing they could do at this time. From the looks of it, they could not gain an advantage even if they joined forces. After all, there were 5 people from the Yi clan. Yeo glanced at them and said, "You guys better be careful. This is not a joke. The 2 people you saw just now should be the 2 people from the Limitless Star Palace who entered the top 100 list this time. They are Yin Wuyo and Yin Qinglian. These 2 siblings are famous in the Limitless Star Palace. I'm afraid their strength is not weaker than yours. They might even be stronger." Yeo wasn't deceived by the appearance of these people. He thought that Yi Shiwen was already so formidable, let alone the others. He could see that Yi Shiwen was probably not an ordinary person. Naturally, there was no way for others to compare with Yi Shiwen. Don't be fooled by the fact that they couldn't do anything to you just now. Yeo glanced at Yi Shiwen as he spoke till here. However, both of them aren't ordinary people. Their strength wouldn't be limited to this level if they were to use their full strength. Moreover, the strongest person in the Limitless Star Palace isn't either of them. Instead, it's Songhai, the champion of the 3rd round. Yi Qiong paid more attention to the news of other realms than Yi Shiwen. He reacted almost immediately and said, "Exactly, it's him, Songhai." Yeo's expression also became serious as he said, "There aren't many people from the Ho clan who have a chance to win this time, and Songhai is one of them. He even has a chance to compete with the top experts from the royal clan." Everyone's complexion became dignified as they listened. It was true that the Ho clan was above all the individual cultivators in the human race. However, the 4 royal clans were above all the Ho clans in comparison. The top experts often came from the royal clans. Most of the royal court competition's champion would be obtained by one of the 4 royal clans. Sometimes, in the cruelest times, the top 10 and the top 20 would be monopolized by the experts of the royal clans. This was a terrifying fact. The royal court struggle gathered all the strongest experts of the human race, and to be able to enter the top 100 rankings, they were undoubtedly the strongest of the strongest, the most outstanding experts of the various forces, the best of the best. to be able to easily occupy the top ranks of the 4 great royal clans. How terrifying were they? The depth of their foundations was unimaginable. However, there were occasionally experts from the Ho clan who could enter the top 10, and there were even cases where the Ho clan had won the championship. Those experts who had the potential to win the championship were often tyrannical and terrifying. These people could easily enter the top 20 rankings at the very least. People like Yi Shiwen and the others were the supreme experts of the younger generation of the Yi clan. They could also defeat many experts who had been famous for many years in the royal court competition, like chopping melons and vegetables. However, even if they weren't at the bottom of the top 100 rankings, they could only be said to be in the middle or lower reaches. Therefore, the people of Limitless Star Palace were wantonly ridiculing the Yi clan who had entered the top 6. What was the use of having more people? Their ranking was too low. Therefore, if you encounter those experts from the Ho clan or the royal clan who have a chance to win the championship in the devil world, don't casually provoke them. After all, this competition is about the number of devils you can kill. It's not a competition of strength. If you kill quickly, you should have the opportunity to obtain a better ranking. Yeo said. Several people had serious expressions on their faces. How could they not understand the meaning behind Yeo's words? In fact, even he was not optimistic about Yi Shiwen and the others' chances of obtaining a higher ranking. Not to mention winning the championship. Only a few people possessed the ability to do so. Although these people were unwilling, there was nothing they could do. Even their own people were not optimistic about their chances, let alone the others. However, these people secretly vowed in their hearts that they would kill their way to the heaven and earth. They would show everyone who looked down on them. Yeo looked at the expressions of these people. How could he not know what they were thinking? However, in his opinion, this was normal. How many geniuses didn't have arrogance? We will first go to the foot of the mountain and wait. Someone will find a way to teleport you into the devil world. However, in order to prevent you from joining hands to slaughter the devils, you will be teleported to different places in the devil world. How you will survive at that time will depend on you. Yeo said. Yi Shiwen secretly thought that this Wang Ting was very considerate. After all, if some people joined hands to slaughter the devils, it would certainly be much faster than a single person, especially in this situation. If this was an arena competition, then the disparity in strength would be obvious at a glance. However, in this kind of competition, it was a competition of how many devils they could kill. The efficiency of a single person naturally couldn't compare with the strength of a team. Everyone didn't stop here. Instead, they directly flew towards that floating continent. While flying, Yeo said, "This competition will last you for 1 year. If you continue for any longer, I'm afraid that the devil race will completely react and send a large number of experts to surround and intercept you. However, even so, the devil race will soon send a lot of experts. These are all tests for you." That's good. In this case, I won't have to look for them. Won't it save a lot of effort to let them come to me? Yi Shukong said coldly. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, he was a lot more excited. The others also nodded. This was a competition of killing efficiency. These devils had come to their door. What could be better than this? It's good to have confidence. However, don't be arrogant. Once the devil race knows about this, I'm afraid that they will soon send a lot of experts. Their realms will be far higher than yours. Then, they will send the princess to intercept you. At that time, you will truly meet your match. Yeo said, pouring cold water on the situation. How will the points be calculated? Yi Shiwen asked. The others also looked at Yeo. This was the most important question. Below the 4th level of the Sky Human Realm, there will be no points. The 4th level of the Sky Human Realm will be worth 1 point. The 5th level of the Sky Human Realm will be worth 10 points. The 6th level of the Sky Human Realm will be worth 100 points. The 7th level of the Sky Human Realm will be worth 1,000 points. The 8th level of the Sky Human Realm will be worth 10,000 points. The 9th level of the Sky Human Realm will be worth 100,000 points. If you have the chance to kill a Sky Human Realm expert, then the points will be 1 million. Yeo looked at everyone and said. However, Everyone selectively ignored the fact that there was a chance to kill a Sky Human Realm expert. Under normal circumstances, if they saw a Sky Human Realm expert, they would not even have time to hide. Although these people were very confident that they would be able to ascend to the Sky Human Realm in the future was in the future. Right now, they were still very weak. If they encountered a Sky Human Realm expert, then only death awaited them. Yi Shiwen frowned. This rule was obviously very advantageous to the strong. If it was only the 4th level of the Sky Human Realm, how many would they have to kill to be able to match up to the 9th level of the Sky Human Realm expert? Therefore, the higher the level of the demon, the higher the points. But at the same time, the higher the level of the demon, the higher the difficulty. It was not something that ordinary people could deal with. Taking him as an example, even if he could kill demons at the 8th heaven of Celestial Realm, he would have to kill 10 to catch up with others killing 1 demon at the 9th heaven of Celestial Realm. This allowed those with higher strength to completely suppress and crush those with lower strength. At that time, you will have a scoring device that will automatically record your points. At the same time, there will be a ranking list. You will be able to see the changes in your ranking at any time and make some adjustments according to your ranking. As for the other things, I don't think I need to teach you. Chapter 1585. Several people followed Yi all the way to the floating mountainside. On this mountainside, there was a huge square, and some experts had already gathered nearby. And on this square, there were many teleportation arrays. These arrays have not been used for a long time. These arrays are not directional teleportation. Generally, they will directly teleport to the demon domain. In the past, they used this method to teleport dead warriors into the demon domain. Yeo said. Yi Shiwen and the others were in awe. If it was just a campaign in the devil world, then even if it was just for show, they could still return. However, if it was a teleportation without a fixed location, then the result would be hard to say. Only God knew where they would be teleported to. Such determination was enough to be regarded as a hero, even though he was a death warrior. Okay, I have brought it for you. When the competition starts, this teleportation array will be activated. Once you enter the array, you will be automatically teleported to the demon domain. After saying that, Yeo did not stay for long and immediately left on the conveyance light. At this time, Yi Shiwen and the others observed this huge square. Although the square was very big, but in fact, it was only a trifling 20 people. Not all of them were in this square, and some of them were in other squares. Every single one of them stood tall and straight with an imposing appearance. They could be said to be dragons and phoenixes among men. Looking over, the weakest among them had already stepped into the peak of the 6th level of the Celestial Realm. With their age, it was very possible for them to step into the Celestial Realm in the future. Especially some of the more outstanding ones among them, they were powerful existences that could steadily step into the Celestial Realm. Among them were Yen Wuyo and Yin Qinglian from Limitless Star Palace, who had just arrived a step earlier than Yi Shiwen and others. At this time, they were looking at Yi Shiwen with an unusually unfriendly expression. And in front of them, a figure stood between heaven and earth, like a star in the universe, incomparably dazzling. Just by looking at the aura on his body, Yi Shiwen immediately judged that this was also an expert from Limitless Star Palace. The aura was exactly the same as the 2 people from Limitless Star Palace before. This time, there were a total of 3 people from Limitless Star Palace who were shortlisted. Then, in addition to the 2 people that Yi Shiwen had seen before, the identity of the remaining person was almost obvious. Inked Songhai. Sure enough, compared to the other 2, Inked Songhai's strength was stronger, and it was not just a little bit stronger. Those 2 were similar to Yi Qiong, who had just stepped into the 8th heaven of the Heaven Realm. However, Inked Songhai had long been at the peak of the 8th heaven of the Heaven Realm. His tyrannical aura instantly suppressed everyone present. He was undoubtedly the number 1 person present. No wonder Zhao Jinwu was so confident that he had a chance of winning the championship. Perhaps there really was hope. Seeing the arrival of Yi Shiwen and the others, the 2 knew each other and said something to Inked Songhai. Inked Songhai immediately strode over and arrived at the target of Yi Shiwen and the others. Are you Yi Shiwen? Inked Songhai stood with his hands behind his back. His sleeves were fluttering as he coldly looked at Yi Shiwen. I heard that you think that our limitless star palace is just as... Without waiting for Yi Shiwen to answer, Inked Songhai continued. Our limitless star palace is the star palace inherited from the demon race's heavenly court. In terms of history, our limitless star palace is even older than your Yi clan. How dare you say that our limitless star palace is inferior to your Yi clan? I think you're really a frog at the bottom of a well. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and you're extremely arrogant. Inked Songhai had the attitude of a matter-of-fact senior, as if he was going to teach Yi Shiwen a lesson. We're extremely arrogant. If it wasn't for your limitless star palace wanting to humiliate our Yi clan, would things turn out like this? Why don't you find the reason from yourself? How could Yi Shiwen be a person who is willing to swallow humiliation? I heard that your strength is not bad, but I want to tell you right now that compared to me, you're nothing. I'll let you know that there's always someone better than you out there. As Inked Songhai spoke, he instantly attacked. Endless starlight burst out from his hand. That starlight was like a divine chain of law, shuttling in the sky and constantly piercing through the sky. If it wasn't for the fact that the nearby space had obviously been reinforced at this time, the space would probably have completely collapsed. Once he attacked, it was extremely horrifying strength. The peak of the 8th level of the celestial realm was extremely terrifying. Just one step, and he could step into the 9th level of the celestial realm. Except for a few who could step into the celestial realm. For the majority of people, stepping into the 9th level of the celestial realm was already the limit. He was only a few hundred years old, but he had already reached a realm that many people might not be able to reach in their lifetime. The starlight in his hand turned into a divine chain of law, instantly sealing the void all over the sky, as if it was going to seal Yi Shiwen. There was no place for Yi Shiwen to hide at all. Even the space seemed to be locked in an instant. Yi Shiwen had no other choice but to blast out a punch to block the horrifying palm power of this palm. Boom! A horrifying sound was heard. The aftermath of the exchange between the two swept out directly in circles. Ding, ding, ding. Yi Shiwen kept retreating on the spot. The horrifying palm power was constantly boiling on his body, turning into starlight all over the sky, as if it was impossible to resist at all. The floor under his feet was completely shattered. As he kept retreating, he kept stepping on a path of powder. So strong. Yi Shiwen finally calmed down the boiling blood in his body, and he couldn't help but be extremely shocked. This Inked Songhai's strength was really tyrannical and terrifying. No wonder the people of Limitless Star Palace were so confident in him. Even if he wasn't the champion, it was more than enough to compete for the top 10. And when Inked Songhai saw that his palm could only force Yi Shiwen to retreat and didn't seriously injure him, he couldn't help but be amazed. At this time, he finally believed the words of his two junior brothers and sisters. This Yi Shiwen was really not an ordinary person. He was able to fight on par with them in a one-on-two fight. This Yi Shiwen can actually fight on par with Inked Songhai without falling into a disadvantageous position. So strong. How is this possible? What kind of strength does Inked Songhai have? Yi Shiwen can actually come out unscathed. Originally, I thought that Yi Shiwen, as the champion of the 10th realm, more or less lived up to his reputation. Now it seems that it's not the case. I'm afraid his strength is also not simple. How can a person who can become the champion of the 10th realm be simple? Suddenly, more than a dozen people around suddenly began to discuss. A starlight flickered under his feet, and he was about to continue to attack Yi Shiwen. Suddenly, a cold sword aura fell from the sky and directly nailed in front of him. He looked up abruptly and saw that this person was none other than Yi Qianqian. Interesting. Your Yi clan is really interesting. What? Do you also want to provoke me? Yi Qianqian, I've heard about you. Legend has it that you're the reincarnation of an ancient goddess. But I advise you not to challenge my bottom line. If you really annoy me, then I don't care if you're the reincarnation of a goddess. Even if you're a god, I'll still kill you. Inked Songhai looked at Yi Shiwen coldly and said, You can try. The snow jade sword in Yi Qianqian's hand kept buzzing, and the surrounding space seemed to be completely frozen. At this time, In addition to Limitless Star Palace and Yi Clan, there were more than a dozen top experts present. One by one, they all looked over and had the intention to watch a good show. They were eager for the two sides to fight so that they could benefit from it and stand out. These were all top experts, and any one of them was a dragon among men. They had extraordinary status and powerful strength. None of them were idiots. At this time, they could only watch, and they could not wait for Limitless Star Palace and Yi Clan to fight here. She's right. What's the point of bullying a person at the 5th level of Heaven Realm? If you have the ability, then I'll fight with you. Yi Qiong stepped forward and said, although his strength was a bit lower than Ing Songhai's, it was not that he did not have the strength to fight. I've also heard of your reputation. People say that you have the talent to be the top of the list. I don't believe it. Yi Sukong also stepped forward and said, the last one was Yi Luan. Although he did not have a deep friendship with Yi Shiwen, at this time, it was related to the battle between Yi Clan and Limitless Star Palace. He naturally had no reason to retreat. Really interesting. You should be glad that this is not the Devil Domain. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your head. Ing Songhai said with the corner of his mouth slightly raised. You should also be glad that this is not the Devil Domain. Otherwise, you may not be able to keep your life. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes and said, his current strength was indeed a bit lower than Ing Songhai's, but if they really fought, it was not that he did not have a trump card to kill this Ing Songhai. This is really interesting. Although I don't know what trump card you have, you are definitely not my opponent. But this time, I don't care about your unreasonable behavior. I heard that you guys are not on good terms with Yi Kuang. Ing Songhai said, that's good. Yi Kuang has said several times that he will defeat me to win the championship. He is really arrogant. You guys are also enemies with Yi Kuang. Then I will give you a chance. Surrender to me. At that time, with my help, you guys can defeat or even kill Yi Kuang. Without Yi Kuang, it will not be a problem for you guys to ascend to the throne of Yi Clan. Ing Songhai said confidently, you want me to surrender to you? Yi Shiwen looked at him and said, yes, that's right. I am destined to be the champion. In the future, I will also be a big shot in the Imperial Court. You will definitely have benefits if you surrender to me. There is no harm. Ing Songhai said confidently, I think you have lost your mind. You actually want me to surrender to you? Yi Shiwen suddenly said with a smile, do you know what happened to the last person who said this to me? So, you don't agree? Ing Songhai narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Shiwen coldly. Chapter 1586. So, you don't agree? Ing Songhai narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Shiwen coldly. Do you think I will agree? Do you think you are a god? Asking people to join you so easily. I really don't know what you are thinking. Yi Shiwen sneered and said, he had never thought of relying on Ing Songhai unless he had lost his mind and gone mad. Good, good, good. Your Yi family is really interesting. Ing Songhai's face finally pulled down, and he could no longer maintain his previous calm posture. At first, he only planned to teach Yi Shiwen a lesson first, to show Yi Shiwen how powerful he was, and then promise him benefits. In his opinion, Yi Shiwen would obediently surrender at that time. Holding a stick in one hand and a carrot in the other was perfect. Who knew that it would be useless on Yi Shiwen's side? On the contrary, he was even ridiculed by Yi Shiwen. He was simply crazy. How could he, who had always been proud and arrogant, accept this? Interesting? I think your Limitless Star Palace is the interesting one. What do you think our Yi family is? Those individual cultivators? They can be bullied by you at will, but you actually want us to join you. Do you know what this means? You are crazy. Yi Shukong also bluntly criticized, which made Ing Songhai's complexion even more unsightly. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yi Shiwen, as if all his humiliation was caused by Yi Shiwen. But he did not make a move. From the fight just now, although Yi Shiwen was not his opponent, his combat power was a bit beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The giant egg could contend with the masters of the 8th level of Celestial Realm, and it was not something that could be done in a short time to take down Yi Shiwen. And next to him were Yi Qiong, Yi Luan, Yi Qianqian, Yi Shukong, and others. None of them were easy to deal with. Who could come here by chance was considered weak. They were the top 100 of the young generation of the human clan, so naturally, it was not easy to find them. At this time, the Yi family had more qualified people, which showed their advantage. No matter how you looked at it, the Yi family had more people. Although they might not have no chance of winning, in the end, they were afraid that it would be a situation where both sides would suffer. At that time, only the others could benefit, and it would have nothing to do with them. This made them have a possibility of holding back. His eyes flickered with an ominous glint. It seemed as if the universe was being born and destroyed in his eyes. His eyes were incomparably deep. He couldn't wait to kill Yi Shiwen. Good, very good. I want to see how long you can last. When we meet again in the demon dimension, don't blame me for being impolite. Song Hai coldly said. He looked at Yi Shiwen with an exceptionally hateful look on his face. Yi Shiwen's refusal had made him lose face in front of others. However, he had never considered whether his request was reasonable or not. From his point of view, this was already taking care of the Yi clan's youngsters. Without him, they wouldn't be Yi Kuang's opponents. In the end, they would all die in Yi Kuang's hands. Then you'd better pray that you don't run into me. Yi Shiwen's eyes flickered with killing intent. Originally, he didn't have such a strong killing intent. However, this Song Hai actually threatened him so solemnly. This made him immediately vigilant. In the face of danger, his only policy and method was to strangle him in the cradle. Since this Song Hai didn't know what was good for him, then don't blame him for making a move. At this time, Yi Qiong, Yi Qianqian, Yi Shiwen, and the others looked at Yi Shiwen's expression and suddenly seemed to understand. They had long experienced Yi Shiwen's arrogance and lawlessness. If no one provoked him, then it would be fine. However, if someone was blind and provoked him, then it would be over. He would kill the other party. This Song Hai had obviously provoked Yi Shiwen's anger. Obviously, Yi Shiwen had heard Yi Shiwen's previous threat. Yi Shiwen even dared to break into the Imperial Clan court. He even dared to confront Yi Jin Mo face to face. He even destroyed Yi Jin Mo's soul avatar. Yi Shiwen could be said to be bold. What's so great about this? If Yi Shiwen really encountered Song Hai, then the final outcome would be unpredictable. Stubborn? What's the use of being stubborn? As far as I know, this time Yi Kuang will definitely not let you go easily. If you don't have my help, you will definitely not be able to escape from Yi Kuang's pursuit. Song Hai said indifferently. He didn't take Yi Shiwen's threat seriously at all. Then let's wait and see. You don't need to worry about this at all. Yi Shiwen said indifferently. Suddenly, just as the two were about to continue talking, there was a burst of rumbling sound in the sky. The various arrays on the floating continent were also activated one after another. A huge crack was torn open, and a strong demonic aura was emitted. Many tyrannical figures rushed into the crack. Song Hai also stepped directly into the crack. He didn't want to waste time with Yi Shiwen at all. This was a competition for points. If he lost because of Yi Shiwen, then it would be a loss that outweighed the gains. Then, the group of people of Limitless Star Palace also quickly stepped into the crack. In the blink of an eye, the 20 people had almost left. Only the people of Yi Clan were left. Everyone, be careful when you enter the Devil Domain. Don't force yourself. Yi Qiong reminded. If it's possible, we will find a way to join forces. It's much better than fighting alone. Yi Shukong said. And everyone nodded. Then a few cracks opened. Yi Qiong, Yi Qianqian, and Yi Shukong stepped in one after another. Rumble! In the void, another crack was torn open. Yi Shiwen directly stepped into this crack. He suddenly felt the power of space tearing his body, as if he was going to be torn apart in an instant. This was still very different from using an ordinary transmission array. Ordinary transmission arrays had a fixed destination, but this transmission array had no fixed destination, so it was also very unstable. If it weren't for the fact that the warriors of the celestial realm had a better understanding of space, they might not be able to resist at all and be torn apart directly. Yi Shiwen arrived at the other side of the devil world, and suddenly felt a burst of devil wind blowing over. It seemed as if a sharp blade was chopping his body, and a burst of ping-pang-pang sound was heard as it cut his skin. This was a demon land. It was not suitable for ordinary people to survive at all. However, it was precisely because of this vile environment that the demon race could produce so many masters. The so-called barren mountains and unruly rivers produced unruly people. Yishuin didn't know where he had been transmitted to. He opened the list and looked at it. My God, there were hundreds of people. In such a short time, Yishuin had already been left behind. Now, the first place was the master of the 4 royal clans, Mu Ranchi, and the master of the Sun royal clan. In addition to him, there were a lot of masters of the royal clan. If the masters of the Ho clan were said to be above the rogue cultivators, then the masters of the royal clan were completely above the powerful existences of the Ho clan. In the Ho clan, there were occasionally a few people who could compete with the top masters of the royal clan. Such people were very rare, just like the feathers of a phoenix and the horns of a chelan. In the demon world, there were many places that were extremely vile. It was not like the desolate era, where many demonic beasts lived in the mountain ranges. Many of them lived in the Een Wind and Demon Wind, and they could form a huge country there. Yishuin had just arrived when he suddenly felt many gazes sweeping towards him. His exuberant vitality was like a bright lamp in the dark night for many monsters in the devil domain at this time. It was exceptionally dazzling. Suddenly, a huge devil claw came from the void and grabbed him. Finally, a devil couldn't bear it anymore and directly attacked Yishuin, wanting to grab him to death. Yishuin sneered in the face of the devil claw. He just smiled coldly and slightly moved his body to one side and dodged the devil claw. Bang! A crisp sound was heard, and Yishuin's hand directly caught this devil's claw. This devil claw was very big, and its diameter was several meters long. However, it seemed that there was no way to dodge Yishuin's grasp. It couldn't move on the spot. Even as Yishuin continued to grab it, the devil behind him continued to roar. It seemed to be angry and also seemed to be in pain. I want to see what kind of beast it is. Yishuin said faintly, and then suddenly clawed again. A loud roar was heard, and a huge figure was grabbed out of the void by Yishuin. A devil lion with black scales was grabbed out of the void by Yishuin. Behind him, along with the fluctuations of the space, a group of devil lions of different sizes also appeared. Obviously, this was a group, and this devil lion was the ancestor of this group. At this time, because it wanted to sneak attack Yishuin, it was completely caught by Yishuin. Damn human, let go of me! This devil lion kept roaring and spoke in the human language. It had already developed spiritual wisdom, which was extraordinary. It actually recognized that I am a human, but it doesn't matter. Yishuin immediately pulled, and this devil lion was immediately pulled in Yishuin's direction like a cannonball. Whoosh! A loud air-piercing sound was heard, and the lion was caught by Yishuin. Then, its huge figure flew towards Yishuin. Bang! Yishuin blasted out a punch towards the devil lion that had opened its mouth wide and wanted to bite Yishuin in one bite. Boom! The whole devil lion's head was blasted into a mass of red and white debris on the spot by Yishuin, splattering all over the sky. Chapter 1587. As Yishuin blasted the devil lion ancestor to death, the children and grandchildren behind him began to become restless. Yishuin checked the score machine on his body. His name had an extra 100 points. The devil lion ancestor just now was just a demonic creature at the 6th level of celestial realm. His score was not very high, but it was still not bad. He looked at the ranking again. At this time, he was only ranked in the 50s. The few people at the top of the list each had 1,000 points. In other words, each of them had killed a terrifying expert at the 7th level of celestial realm when they just entered. Therefore, their score was 10 times higher than Yishuin's. With the tragic death of the devil lion ancestor, his children and grandchildren were restless. Then, amidst the roars of beasts, they scattered and wanted to escape. Yishuin naturally would not let them escape. Although these points were not a lot, it was better than nothing. Without the devil lion ancestor, the other demonic lions were not Yishuin's opponents at all. They could not even stop Yishuin. By the time Yishuin had slaughtered all of them, he discovered that his score had already reached 223 points. At this time, looking at the ranking again, not only did his ranking not improve, but it also retreated a few steps directly out of the top 60. He could not help but feel a little speechless. What is going on? He knew that he did not delay at all, but he still could not keep up with the speed of these people. There was even the danger of constantly retreating. At this time, Yishuan finally realized that if he wanted to get a lot of points, the most important thing was to kill the powerful demons. The weak demons could not be killed even if they died. Moreover, there were not so many demons for them to kill. Perhaps the news of them entering the devil domain would soon spread. At that time, the heroes of the devil domain would react. Even if they could not send out any troops, they would send a large number of experts to encircle and annihilate them. Yishuan did not stop and continued to the depths of the devil domain. Anyway, he did not know where he was in the devil domain, but he could still roughly distinguish the direction. As he got closer to the depths of the devil domain, the demon chi became thicker. On the contrary, the farther away from the center of the devil domain, the less dense the demon chi was. It was the same as the ancient Baron's continent. If he wanted to catch up to those people at the top of the leaderboard, he would have to kill the top experts of the devil race. Killing a 7th Firmament of Heaven Realm expert would give him 1,000 points, and killing an 8th Firmament of Heaven Realm expert would give him over 10,000 points. If he were to kill low-level devils, then he would have to kill until God knows when. Yishuan silently glanced at the list. This list was constantly receiving new information and was constantly being updated. The auras of tyrannical experts were hovering above the list, and the numbers behind their names were constantly being refreshed, constantly rising, and striving to outdo each other. Behind each name, it represented a peerless genius. Yishuan couldn't help but feel his blood boiling with excitement. This was a stage like the imperial court struggle. If it was any other place, it would be impossible to see so many experts competing against each other. Suddenly, he saw that the number of points behind the name at the top of the list suddenly broke through 5 digits. Those top experts are probably at the peak of the 8th level of the Heaven Realm at the very least, similar to Ing Songhai's cultivation. Moreover, there's even a cultivation at the 9th level of the Heaven Realm amongst them. If I don't hurry up, then I'll be quickly pulled down by them to the point I'll be unable to catch up to them. Yishuan couldn't help but think to himself. He didn't care about anything else and rushed all the way to the depths of the devil world. Yishuan should have concealed his aura in the devil world. That was because his aura was that of a human's. Moreover, he had such a huge amount of vitality. So, he was afraid that he would soon attract a large number of devil experts. However, if he wanted to catch up to those people, he would have to kill a large number of demons. Thus, he could only release his aura without concealing it. Immediately, he was like a beacon light within a radius of over 100,000 miles. It was as if a powerful demon was unscrupulously releasing its demonic aura in the ancient Baron's continent. Yishuan's actions quickly alarmed the experts of the demon race within a radius of over 100,000 miles. Although many demons had already been conscripted to the front lines of the war against the human race, the strength of the devil world was unfathomable. Even so, there were still many experts behind them. Now, the battle between the devil world and the human race was like two boxers testing each other's strength. Neither had used their full strength. The human race also had a large number of experts on standby and had yet to enter the front lines. The demon race was the same as the demon race. They also had tribes and cities. In some remote areas, some demons in the wilderness still maintained the form of tribes. Yishuan didn't know where he landed. Almost immediately, his vitality attracted over a dozen powerful giant demons from a nearby tribe. The dozen or so giant demons that were as huge as small mountains crossed the sky on the spot. A single step was 100 miles away, and their speed was extremely fast. All of them were giant demons at the 5th heaven of the Heaven Realm and above. There was even a giant demon elder among them that was a powerful existence at the 7th heaven of the Heaven Realm. Behind them, there was a large number of demons at the 1st level of the Heaven Realm, 2nd level of the Heaven Realm, 3rd level of the Heaven Realm, and even half-step Heaven Realm. There was even a giant demon elder that was a powerful existence at the 7th level of the Heaven Realm. Human, You'd better surrender obediently. I haven't eaten human flesh for a long time, and it's actually a warrior. If you want to buy such a person on the market, it'll cost a lot of mana crystals. Children, it's time for you to eat your fill today. The giant demon elder's eyes lit up when he saw Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's vitality was exuberant. To the giant demon elder, it was simply a supreme treasure. He had lived for so long. How could he not understand that this Yi Shiwen had swallowed countless treasured medicines? Every drop of blood and every piece of flesh on his body was incomparably precious. Yi Shiwen swallowed the Qilin meat as a treasured medicine. In fact, in the eyes of the demons, the flesh on his body was almost the same. A kid at the 5th level of the Heaven Realm actually had such a powerful vitality. It was really great. Now it was all going to benefit their tribe. After devouring Yi Shiwen's flesh, who knew how many of his children would ascend to the heavens in a single bound and step into the celestial being realm. This was not an exaggeration at all. In the past 200 years, Yi Shiwen had already lost count of the number of treasured medicines he had devoured. These treasured medicines had transformed into powerful energy that was hidden in every cell of his body. Roar! 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 This giant demon tribe was filled with giant demons. These giant demons numbered in the hundreds and thousands, constantly roaring. Their roars shook the surrounding space, and the faces of these giant demons shined with excitement. These giant demons were the so-called demon race that had never been assimilated. They had never submitted to the rule of the royal family. Although they were free, they were also unable to enjoy many of the benefits that other giant demons enjoyed. They also had very little blood to eat, let alone humans, who were a rare race in the demon race. I think you're all tired of living. The 7th level of the Heaven Realm is 1,000 points. Although it isn't much, it isn't little either. Adding all of you, TSK. In any case, you have more than 3,000 points. Turn them all into points for me. Yi Shiwen laughed heartily. These giant devils regarded him as their food, but he also regarded these giant devils as his score. How dare you? The giant demon elder suddenly became furious. When he roared and was about to launch an attack, Yi Shiwen moved first. His whole body was like a golden lightning, piercing through the sky and directly rushing into the group of giant demons. These giant demons were of different sizes, but even the smallest was more than 20 meters tall. The giant demon elder was more than 50 meters tall. When he stood up, he was like a mountain. It was precisely because of this huge body and powerful strength that giant demons were very popular war tools in the demon world. They were incomparably sharp when it came to sieging cities and seizing strongholds. But at this time, this huge figure in front of Yi Shiwen was completely useless because it couldn't catch up to Yi Shiwen. Even if it did, it would be useless because Yi Shiwen's strength was even more terrifying than theirs. He was simply a Tyrannosaurus in human form. Bang! 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 Several giant demons of half-step, celestial being realm exploded on the spot with a loud bang, turning into a blood mist that filled the sky. Then, a blood-colored light directly swept out from Yi Shiwen's body, and he directly swept these blood mist into it. Although these giant demons of half-step, celestial being realm did not have points, Tianyuan Mirror needed the flesh and blood of these devils. After the blood essence that filled the sky was absorbed by Tianyuan Mirror, a part of the essence was directly transformed and integrated into Yi Shiwen's body, as if it was replenishing his physical strength at any time and place. Almost in an instant, he was restored to the peak. Damn, you're courting death. A giant demon of the 5th level of celestial being realm roared and blasted a punch toward Yi Shiwen. He was very confident, and he believed that he could smash Yi Shiwen to death with one punch. How could a person the size of his finger be able to block his punch? Dang! As a result, the sound of metal clashing resounded. Yi Shiwen welcomed the incoming punch with his fist and blocked it. Ah! He screamed, and only a clear cracking sound was heard from his whole arm. Then his whole arm suddenly broke apart, and his flesh burst open, and blood splattered out. He kept retreating, and his eyes were full of astonishment. He looked at Yi Shiwen as if he had seen a ghost, and he couldn't believe it. How is this possible? How can the strength of a human be so great? He couldn't believe that he actually lost to a weak human in the strength that he was most proud of. Chapter 1588. If someone had told him this before, he would not have believed it. How could a mere human compete with the giant demon clan in terms of strength? The power of the giant demon clan, even in the devil domain, was well known. Compared to the war beasts that had not yet developed intelligence, the giant demon clan was considered more suitable for war. What's more, the most important thing was that Yi Shiwen's realm was not much higher than his, but the same realm as him. In the same realm, one of his arms was destroyed by Yi Shiwen's punch. How terrifying was this? If his realm was not as good as Yi Shiwen, he would have been blown up on the spot like those half-step celestial realm experts. Suddenly, he was greatly surprised and retreated again and again. He wanted to retreat to the giant devil, but how could Yi Shiwen give him this opportunity? He immediately stepped forward and blasted a punch on the spot. His golden fist power surged out and instantly submerged the giant devil. Boom! The giant demon clan was blasted into a cloud of blood mist on the spot, and Yi Shiwen gained another 10 points. Although it was not much, after Yi Shiwen's continuous killing, his ranking on the list had stabilized. Although he was still in the 50s, it was much better than before. After the initial difference, these rankings had slowly been fixed. In the beginning, everyone was sent to different places. Some people were sent to places with more Devil Clan experts and had more points at the beginning. Some people were sent to barren places and still had 0 points. Not good, this monster is fierce. Everyone be careful. At this moment, the eyes of the giant demon clan's elder revealed a horrified expression. He couldn't believe that Yi Shiwen was so powerful that he could directly order these low-level abyssals to leave. Then he took a step forward and crossed half the sky. He directly stepped down on the spot and suddenly stomped down on Yi Shiwen. In Yi Shiwen's view, it was like a small mountain directly falling on the spot. Hula! With a loud roar, a huge footprint was stomped on the void. Boom! Yi Shiwen spread out his hand. An endless sword chi condensed in his hand, turning into a long sword river, and directly fell down on the huge foot. Boom! This huge foot was drenched in blood on the spot, and a huge wound instantly appeared on that huge foot. Ah! The giant demon elder couldn't help but scream, almost losing his breath. His entire body had been tempered by ancient magic and could be called as solid as a rock. But at this time, Yi Shiwen's sword had actually cut a huge wound in his body. Blood gushed out like a column. The scene was extremely horrifying. However, Yi Shiwen wasn't finished yet. His second wave of offensive arrived in an instant. The sword light pierced through the vast sky. It was extremely dazzling, blooming in the sky like a sword lotus. The sword lotus directly burst open and fell on the giant devil elder's body. Boom! 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 With a deafening explosion, the giant devil elder screamed pitifully. He thought that his body was as tough as iron, but in front of Yi Shiwen's sharp sword chi, it was nothing. In an instant, huge wounds appeared all over his body. Blood splashed out, and his muscles completely ruptured. How is this possible? What kind of monster is this? He looked at Yi Shiwen in horror. At this time, his heart was filled with regret. He finally regained his composure. This was simply a terrifying, vicious beast wearing the skin of a human. If he dared to break into the devil world alone, how could he not have the ability to do so? By the time he reacted, it was already too late. Yi Shiwen's speed was even faster. In front of him, the giant devil elder simply wasn't a match at all. In just 2 or 3 moves, he was completely oppressed without the strength to fight back. Yi Shiwen's sword light turned into a heaven-shaking waterfall that cut down. Die for me. Dang! The giant devil elder quickly raised his hand, using his bone club to block this heaven-shaking waterfall with great difficulty. Puff! He had already been repeatedly wounded by Yi Shiwen. Now, after this collision, he felt a sudden burst of power in his body. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, and the web between his thumb and forefinger completely ruptured. Thump, thump, thump. His huge figure retreated again and again in the void. It took him a long time to stop his footsteps. The other giant devils were also dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. The giant devil elder was the #1 powerhouse in their clan. Even in the entire devil world, he could be regarded as a powerhouse. But now, in front of this tiny human, he actually didn't have the strength to fight back. It could be said that he was being beaten back again and again. At this time, these slow-thinking giant devils finally understood what it meant by warning wasn't the only factor that determined one's strength. They grew up in the giant devil tribe. Here, the only standard to evaluate the strength of a giant devil was their body size. The bigger their body size, the more powerful they were. The strongest expert in the group was also the most powerful existence in the giant devil tribe. Now, Yi Shiwen had completely subverted the very primitive and barbaric giant devil tribe's understanding of the giant devil tribe. However, Yi Shiwen's offensive was not over yet. It was like a heaven-shaking tsunami, unceasingly and unceasingly. The sword light bombarded down again and again. Dang, dang, dang. Every time the sword light slashed down on the bone stick, it was like a stormy sea of power. Even the strongest expert of the giant devil tribe almost couldn't hold the bone stick in his hand. Impossible. You can't be a human. You must be from the Devil Dragon clan. This giant devil elder simply didn't dare to attack. Dang! Another loud sound echoed, and the bone stick was directly sent flying. The formidable power vibrated on the bone stick. This giant devil elder simply couldn't hold the bone stick in his hand. This bone stick was made from the leg bone of an extremely powerful magical beast. At this time, it was completely shaken and flew out. It directly smashed into a nearby mountain peak and exploded on the spot, turning the mountain into flat ground. However, this bone stick was already densely covered in cracks. Yi Shiwen had used his berserk power to bombard it into countless cracks, and it was now completely scrapped. Poochie! Another sword light crashed down. Without the protection of the bone stick, Yi Shiwen's sword light's momentum didn't decrease. It directly broke through the aura chi on the giant devil elder's body and directly chopped his body. On the spot, the giant devil elder was chopped into 2 halves. His body hadn't even fallen to the ground when the Tianyuan mirror's bloody light swept into it. Yi Shiwen's score suddenly increased by more than 1,000 points. His ranking suddenly jumped up by more than a dozen places. However, such fluctuations were very normal in the entire ranking list. It hadn't completely stabilized yet. From time to time, one could see people directly jumping up by more than a dozen places. However, the rankings of the top 10 or 20 people had almost never changed. Almost every now and then, their scores would change. These were the true powerhouses. And among them, Yi Shiwen also saw a familiar name, Yi Kuang. Yi Kuang was ranked 15th. He was also the only Yi clan member who had entered the top 20. His current score was several thousand points higher than Yi Shiwen's. Obviously, he had also beheaded several masters of the 7th heavenly layer of Celestial Realm. However, even with Yi Kuang's strength, he still couldn't enter the top 10. It could be seen how tyrannical the top 10 people were. Yi Shiwen even guessed that they might have already entered the 9th heavenly layer of Celestial Realm. Only in this way, they could completely suppress Yi Kuang. And among the top 20, Yi Shiwen also saw another familiar name, Shanghai. He was ranked 12th. He was so confident that his ranking was actually higher than Yi Kuang's, although the total score was only a few hundred points higher. But what surprised him the most was that he had never expected to see a name in the top 10, Fa Wushuang. Although he was just hanging above the 10th place, with his age, he was actually able to suppress Shanghai, Yi Kuang, and the others to enter the top 10. This was something that Yi Shiwen had never expected. Among the young masters, Fa Wushuang's ranking could be said to be far ahead. Except for a few people, the gap between him and most people was getting bigger and bigger. On the contrary, Yi Shiwen, Yi Qianqian, Yi Shukong, and the others, who were not originally ranked high, actually entered the top 10 in one fell swoop after the adjustment of the list. There were not many people in front of them, and the original top 10 people were also pushed down from the Hidden Dragon list by them. Even so, the top few people, Fa Wushuang was still invincible. Leah, Ocean Emperor, and the others were still far ahead, and could even compete with the top masters of the young generation. Although Yi Shiwen and Fa Wushuang were both ranked in the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon list, but the gap between their strengths had not become smaller. Although Yi Shiwen had won the championship of the 10th round, Fa Wushuang was obviously ranked in the top 10 of the younger generation of the human race. He was even more tyrannical than Yi Shiwen. Yi Shukong and Yi Qianqian, who were ranked even higher than Yi Shiwen, were the most dazzling, peerless geniuses among the young generation. No one dared to look down on them. But in this place where all the peerless geniuses of the young generation gathered, their light was immediately overshadowed. Right now, they were only ranked 70th or 80th. They were not at the bottom, but could only be said to be in the lower middle. It should be said that they had participated too early. If it was the next time with their strength and talent, it was absolutely possible for them to compete for the first place. Even Yi Shiwen was the same. Therefore, many people felt that it was a pity for them. But Yi Shiwen had no choice. He had a reason to participate at this time, and he could not wait for the next imperial court competition in a few hundred years. Chapter 1589. Yi Shiwen's mind spun thousands of times in an instant, but the sword in his hand did not stop at all. He directly slaughtered the remaining giant demons. Although they fled in all directions, no matter how fast they were, how could they be faster than Yi Shiwen? They could not escape at all, and were all killed by Yi Shiwen on the spot. At this time, the most discussed were naturally the masters at the top of the ranking list. Even though the demon race was still invading, this battle for the top 100 rankings still attracted the attention of many people. After killing these giant demons, Yi Shiwen's score skyrocketed by more than 2,000 points, suddenly becoming more than 4,000 points. This score directly sent him into the top 30 rankings. This Yi Shiwen's ranking has risen so quickly. I heard that he is only at the 5th level of Heaven Realm. How can he be so fast? Isn't that so? With his cultivation and realm, to be able to obtain such a ranking is definitely a great miracle. At this time, many people still had a look of disbelief, not daring to believe it. Even Yi Shiwen's ranking had attracted the attention of some big shots in the royal court, but this was also a very normal thing. Although Yi Shiwen and the others did not have high realms, relatively speaking, their age was also a lot lower than the others. How did this Yi Shiwen's ranking rise so quickly? In a demon mountain, Yi Kuang had just cleaned up a demon tribe. He could not help but frown as he looked at the ranking list. He did not go with the Yi clan, but he had been paying attention to the matters of others. Seeing that Yi Shiwen had actually jumped into the top 30 rankings so quickly, he could not help but be very surprised. He was very clear that the top 10 had already stepped into the 9th sky of the celestial realm. The top 20 were probably at the peak of the 8th sky of the celestial realm. Even the top 30 were absolutely tyrannical masters of the 8th sky of the celestial realm. Yi Qiong was ranked 26th, which was very normal, but Yi Shiwen was actually able to rush to the 30th, which was too unscientific. Although at the beginning, some people were teleported to a barren place and could not get up, but looking at Yi Shiwen's speed of advancement, this was obviously not the case. Thinking of this, he became even more afraid. Although his progress was fast enough, he was very clear that Yi Qiong was also closely behind him. Moreover, Yi Qiong had swallowed the Qilin's heart. His cultivation speed was probably fast to an astonishing level, and it was even possible that he would soon catch up to him. Last time, not only did he not succeed in intercepting his luck, but after swallowing the Qilin's heart, his momentum after swallowing its soared. This in itself was a mistake. The Imperial Court struggle this time was indeed a very good opportunity, but the Devil Realm was so big now. God knew where they were. It was impossible to find them. Forget it. I still want to clean up these demon clans first. Some of these demon clans have a long history and have a lot of wealth. I want to directly break through the 9th level of Heaven Realm, and only then will I have a chance to truly compete with those in the top 10, and then have a chance to win the championship. Who am I? How can I bow down to others? A killing intention flashed in his eyes as he saw Yi Shiwen's ranking rising unceasingly. He coldly said, "This little bastard's ranking is rising very fast. However, It's useless. Wait until I find you. I'll dismember your body into thousands of pieces. You dare to defy my words? I'll let you see my real means and my true power. Yi Shiwen's name was Inked Songhai's, and Inked Songhai was chopping through the waves in the dark Devil Sea. At this time, because Yi Shiwen's ranking suddenly rose, it attracted a lot of people's attention, and there were also many people who were paying attention to Yi Shiwen from the beginning. Although his ranking was not high, and his strength was indeed not that great in the eyes of many people, but he had something that everyone was interested in, and that was the yin-yang diagram of life and death. This was something that even the Abyss Demon Lord wanted to fight for. Such a good thing, probably no one could ignore it. Although it was only an incomplete diagram, but for them, it was already enough. With this thing, they would have the possibility to comprehend life and death, and then go to the next level and step into the path of immortality. For others, this was unimaginably far, but for them, it was something that was right in front of them. With their age and cultivation, perhaps it would not be long before they would face this thing again. At this time, many people were like a storm, and many people began to automatically search for Yi Shiwen's whereabouts. They wanted to find Yi Shiwen's whereabouts and seize the yin-yang diagram of life and death from him. Yi Shiwen, I didn't expect your progress to be so fast, to actually be able to participate in the Imperial Court competition. In the high sky of the demon world, a figure stood there, like an eternal giant, incomparably straight, and said with a frown, if Yi Shiwen was here, he would be able to recognize this person. It was no other than F.A. Wushuang, who he had met once before. Right now, you have caused quite a lot of trouble. There are a lot of people who want your life. Oh well, last time you did me a big favor. This time I will return the favor. Coincidentally, I also want to fight with those people and see what qualifications they have to be above me. One day after another went by, and various news spread out. However, as everyone gradually settled down, the rankings were rarely changed. Gradually, the difference in strength between them became clear. It was no longer like the beginning, where it depended on luck. At any rate, not everyone would be able to encounter a demon at the 4th layer of the Sky Human stage or above right from the start. Although the Devil world was very big and there were many experts in it, it still couldn't withstand the surprise attack of hundreds of peerless Heaven's Pridelings. Each of these people had their own trump cards, and they were far from being comparable to the Devil race of the same realm. So, they still occupied a lot of advantages in the beginning. But very quickly, the Devil realm reacted. They quickly realized the existence of this group of people. Coupled with the information from their spies in the human race, they quickly knew that a group of human geniuses had rushed in. They couldn't help but be furious. Even many Devil race powerhouses were roused from their slumber. These humans are really arrogant. These hundreds of people actually dare to enter our Devil realm. I think they're tired of living. Pass my order. We must behead all of these human geniuses who have come in. A supreme existence of the Devil realm issued his order. Suddenly, the entire Devil realm began to operate like a huge machine. Compared to the terrifying war machine of the Devil race, the strength of the people who had broken into the Devil realm was obviously far inferior. The Devil race had just launched their attack, and they immediately felt that it was difficult to breathe. Originally, they were slaughtering weak Devil tribes like chopping melons and vegetables. But this time it wasn't so easy, because every time they were slaughtering halfway, a large number of experts would rush over after hearing the news. Originally, many devils were selfish. They wouldn't move unless it involved themselves. But at this time, a great figure of the Devil race had issued an order. So, they had no choice but to obey. A large number of experts of the Devil race were mobilized, and they began to kill those human experts who had broken into the Devil race. At this time, even the Heaven's Pridelings of the human race had appeared on the internet. The most obvious thing was that their names on the list had been directly erased. Although the result wasn't indicated, everyone was very clear about the consequences of their names being erased from the list. It basically meant death. Among these people, many of them had their own special means of communication. Although it wasn't as fast as in the ancient Barons continent, it was still possible in the Devil realm. Some people used spiritual birds to send messages, while others used talismans to send messages. Everyone had their own methods. However, these methods required a lot of time. Just determining their location alone required a lot of time. However, there were still many news that the devil race had caught up to a few of the bottom few on the list. In the end, they were completely killed. Their heads were hung in a city of the devil race as a demonstration. Even an expert in the top 10 was ambushed. It was said that even the top experts in the ninth heaven realm were mobilized. They were directly mobilized from the front lines, and they directly joined the encirclement and annihilation. Although the last expert managed to escape, he was seriously injured in the end. There was no way to hide it all. In the devil realm, the aura of the human race was too sensitive. It was simply like a lighthouse in the night. The existence of the human race's aura could be felt from far away. Therefore, after the devil race reacted, everyone quickly lost their initial majesty. Instead, they fell into a continuous encirclement. They didn't even have a way to hide. The devil race was everywhere in the devil realm. They weren't like humans who would gather in cities. As long as they escaped to the wilderness, they would be fine. Many of these devil race even lived in the demonic winds. Some even lived in the mountains just like demonic beasts. Therefore, there were no traces of humans at all. It could be said that they could almost encounter the devil race at any time. Once they were caught, the consequences were simply unimaginable. At this time, these geniuses finally understood why those who were teleported to the devil realm were called death warriors. That was because it was indeed a narrow escape from death. If it weren't for the fact that they were strong enough, had their own trump cards, and weren't ordinary people, they would have already died at this time. In the devil world, the lair of the devil race, let alone 100 people, even 10 times more would be useless. This was the territory of the devil race. Chapter 1590. And this exception was none other than Yi Shiwen. He could disguise his aura at will. He could disguise himself as an expert of the fallen angel clan and walk among the devil race. So, he wasn't afraid that anyone would recognize him. Therefore, he could walk leisurely in the devil world while other people were running for their lives. Many geniuses wanted to kill as much as they had in the beginning since the devil world had started to exert its strength. However, it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, the increase of their points had slowed down. In fact, their points might increase by 100 or even 1,000 points in 1 or 2 days. Only a month had passed, but around 10 people from the top 100 of the list had already fallen. It was truly cruel. These 10 people weren't ordinary. They were the most elite geniuses of the human race. Some of them were strong, and some of them were weak. However, they were undoubtedly the best of the best. The loss of any one of them in the past would have caused extreme heartache. However, 10 of them had been killed like cabbages at the market. Moreover, some people had been captured by the devil race and had their memories searched by the soul-searching technique. This had allowed the devil race to gain insight into the intentions of the human race. It would have been fine if these people had been ordinary death warriors in the past. These death warriors were troublesome. However, they didn't have much value. After all, they were a group of people who were unafraid of death. However, it was different now. These people weren't death warriors. Instead, they were a group of peerless geniuses. They were the top geniuses of the younger generation of the human race. Therefore, the human race would be cut off for several hundred years if all of them were to die. This had made the hearts of many devil forces excited. Some people had been perfunctory because of the words of that big shot. However, they had become excited now. Many daring people wanted to kill these peerless geniuses. After all, these peerless geniuses of the human race had cultivated to such an extent. So, each of their bodies was a huge treasure. In fact, they could devour these peerless geniuses just like the demon race. Among the human race, only some people who practiced the evil path would eat humans. But among the devil race, this was a very normal thing. Just like the monster race, they could obtain enough energy from the flesh and blood of humans. In an instant, many old fellows who had been living in seclusion for many years also made their moves. Although this group of young geniuses of the human race, in terms of strength, they were all terrifyingly powerful. The weakest were at the 5th or 6th layer of the celestial realm. Among them, There were even existences at the ninth layer of the celestial realm. If it wasn't for some old antiques living in seclusion, no one would be able to stop them. Although it wasn't enough to attract the experts of the celestial realm, just those old antiques living in seclusion were already terrifying enough. The lifespan of the devil race was much longer than that of the human race. In the human race, those who were thousands of years old could be regarded as antiques, but in the devil race, there might be antiques that were tens of thousands of years old. They were truly like living fossils. With just a casual move, he could easily crush his peers to death. He was not a match for them at all. Although their realms didn't increase, their strength was constantly accumulating. It was extremely terrifying. As these people continued to move, the casualties of these geniuses gradually began to increase. Suddenly, the experts of the human race were all wailing in grief. Even with their firm wills, they were a bit desperate at this time. They were only randomly teleported here, but it was hard to say whether they would be able to return in the end. This was the devil world, and there was no teleportation formation that could send them out. Moreover, because they knew about this plan of the human race, some big shots of the devil race ordered that all the spatial passages between the devil race and the human race be strictly inspected. They absolutely couldn't let any of these geniuses escape to the human world. It could be said that they had given an order to kill. Under such circumstances, they could only go all out. Not only did they need to kill enough devils during this period, but they also needed to use all kinds of methods to increase their strength. When the time came, they could either escape the perception of the devil race and sneak back, or forcibly break through. Although they were helpless, this was the only way. A silver-haired fallen angel was walking on the street in a city of the devil race at this time. He had attracted the attention of many people. Many sexy and unrestrained female devils were constantly throwing flirtatious glances at this melancholic, handsome fallen angel. However, it was a pity that this fallen angel was only focused on walking forward. So, they were obviously trying to throw flirtatious glances at the blind. Yi Shiwen was walking in a city of the devil race. However, he was in a much better state than the miserable state that other people could imagine. He could remove that layer of disguise when he needed to. Then, he could lure the experts to slaughter them. After that, he could disguise himself as a fallen angel, and no one would be able to recognize him. Not only had his aura completely transformed into that of a devil, but his appearance had also become even more handsome. Although there were killings among the devil race, he had been intercepted several times during these 2 months as a fallen angel. However, it was still better than traveling as a human. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as a few interceptions. Perhaps he would be hunted down by the entire devil race. In the beginning, he still didn't understand the reason why the royal court was doing this. This kind of non-directional teleportation meant that he didn't know where he would be teleported to. The most important thing was that he couldn't even come back. If he was fast, he might be able to escape back to the royal court before the devil race could react. However, a year's time had given the devil race enough time. At that time, it would be very difficult to go back. Even if Yi Shiwen disguised himself as a fallen angel, it would be very difficult for him to easily pass through the checkpoints set up by the devil race. Not to mention the other people, it was almost impossible to escape back. However, at this time, he suddenly understood that the royal court was simply raising venomous insects. Those who could survive in the most tragic environment would undoubtedly become the most tyrannical experts in the future. It wouldn't be a problem for them to advance into the celestial realm. However, this would also cause great losses. How many of this group of people would be able to return in the end? If they were allowed to grow in peace, many of these people would become the top experts of the human race in the future. Now, they were going to die here. What were the higher-ups of the royal court thinking? Even if the higher-ups of the royal court weren't clear about this, how could the higher-ups of the major forces so easily send their most outstanding disciples to die? There must be some secret that he didn't know about. Yi Shiwen could completely imagine that the royal court must have their own plans. Was it really worth it to give up so many geniuses to raise a venomous insect king? However, at this time, he didn't have time to think so much. No matter what the royal court was planning, with the invasion of the devil race, he could gradually smell the aura of a great calamity. Yi Shiwen had to improve his strength as soon as possible. Only with enough tyrannical strength could he truly have the right to speak. Only then would he be able to go to the ancient Phoenix realm and bring Hua Minghan back. This matter had been suppressed in his heart for a long time. It was almost becoming a sore point. If he couldn't solve it, it might evolve into a demon in his heart. For other geniuses, entering the devil world was definitely in existence with a slim chance of survival. However, this was not the case for Yi Shiwen, especially since he even had the inheritance of the supreme monarch of the devil race. Yes, he had thought about it. If he wanted to greatly improve his cultivation in a short period of time, the only way was to obtain the treasures left behind by the Devil King. Previously, Yi Mo had mentioned it to him several times, hoping that he could obtain the treasures of the Devil King. It was just that Yi Shiwen didn't have this time and opportunity before, but now he had it. His cultivation of the 5th level of the Heaven Realm was enough to contend against the 8th level of the Heaven Realm. It was enough for him to go to that place. This time, there was still half a year left in the competition for the top 100 rankings. It was enough for him to go there and come back. If he could obtain the treasures of the Devil King, it would be fine even if he didn't compete for the top 100 rankings. While other masters were struggling to avoid the pursuit of the masters of the devil race, he had already arrived in an inconspicuous small city in the devil world. In the devil world, this place was also a relatively desolate area, not the core area ruled by the 8 royal families. Many tens of thousands of years have passed, but this place is still the same as before, as if it will never change. There will not be any changes in the devil race for countless years. A sigh resounded in Yi Shiwen's ears. Yi Mo's figure appeared on Yi Shiwen's shoulder. He looked at the devils coming and going. It seemed as if it had been like this for countless years. So, there hadn't been much change, even though so many years had passed. Forget it, let's not sigh about this. This time, I force myself to wake up, which will consume more energy. I am afraid it will be even more difficult to wake up in the future, so the future can only rely on you. However, if I can help you obtain the divine treasure of the Devil King, I think all of this is still worth it. Is there no medicinal pellet or divine object in the divine treasure of the Devil King that can cure your current situation? Yi Shiwen asked. There is, but as for the specifics, Sai, wait until you inherit the divine treasure of the Devil King. Then you will know. Yi Mo sighed, as if thinking of something. Wait until you have enough strength. Then you can help me. You are still too stubborn. In fact, if you are willing to listen to my arrangements, enter the devil world, and transform into a human devil, I am afraid that you will soon be able to achieve a meteoric rise. At this time, you will have already entered the celestial realm, or even higher realms. If I give up my human identity, it is equivalent to giving up myself. I will absolutely not agree to this. Yi Shiwen firmly shook his head and said, Sai, why don't you understand? The physical form is only a side branch matter. Yi Mo repeatedly shook his head and said, Then let's not talk about this. Let me tell you, the divine treasure of the Devil King is in a space-time node 3,000 miles outside the city. Only a special method can be used to open it. Chapter 1591. The Demon King's treasure trove is in a space-time node 3,000 miles outside the city. It can only be opened with a special method. Yi Mo said, This is something that only the direct descendants of the Demon King might know. But now, I'm probably the only one who knows. Yi Mo sighed, and his heart was filled with endless emotions. This is... Suddenly, Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes because he felt a strong aura sweeping over 100 miles outside the city. It didn't stop or conceal at all. The demons in the entire city began to panic. This was already considered far away from the ruling center of the 8 royal clans, which was the so-called Desolate Land. Here, there were basically no powerful masters. There was only one expert at the first level of the Celestial Realm who was the local city lord and was in charge of everything. Even the invasion of those barbaric demons who had not yet assimilated could cause the destruction of the small city. Not to mention that such a terrifying pressure and fluctuation directly alarmed everyone. What kind of master passed by? All the devils were shivering. Unlike the orderly human race, there were many old devils with strange tempers among the devils. It was even possible for them to slaughter an entire city before they left. Encountering such a lawless powerhouse, they could only pray for their own luck. Ninth sky of Heaven Realm? Yi Shiwen immediately judged, but he didn't think too much about it. Although this level of master was an existence that he couldn't fight against, passing by occasionally was not considered an existence. However, just as he felt relieved, another even more terrifying aura swept past him. This aura was 10 times, or even dozens of times more terrifying than the previous one. What was arrogance? This was incomparably arrogance. Celestial Realm. Yi Shiwen's face also turned pale. Just now, it was just a ninth sky of Heaven Realm warrior, which was not considered much. But this was a Celestial Realm master. Facing the power of a Celestial Realm master, the demons in the city almost knelt down. What is this situation? Why are so many demons heading in this direction? This direction is... Yi suddenly reacted. That is the direction of the Demon King's treasure trove. Yi Shiwen, let's go take a look. Yi Shiwen didn't hesitate at all. He took a big stride and leaped out. When his figure appeared again, he had already appeared outside the city. Voila! Another sharp, piercing sound rang out, and an extremely huge demonic bird swept across the sky. Its wingspan was several hundred meters long, and it glided past like a small mountain. A celestial realm demon bird, old ancestor. Yi was speechless. Without waiting for Yi Shiwen to take a closer look, the huge devil bird ancestor had already disappeared into the horizon. They are all heading in that direction. Damn it, not good. Could it be that someone has opened the divine treasures of the demon monarch? Yi couldn't help but curse. In this era where gods don't appear, there's only one reason why these supreme experts would come one by one. Yi Shiwen didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly rushed in the direction that Yi had mentioned. Sure enough, a large amount of machi was surging out of it, and a lot of magical beasts were roaring in the surroundings as they gathered in this direction. Yi Shiwen, be careful. There is someone here, Yi warned. Yi Shiwen immediately concealed his aura and hid in the void. Then, a demonic claw directly cracked down, and these hundreds of magical beasts that approached were all killed. They turned into flesh and blood all over the sky, and were then sucked away by this demonic claw. Then, this demonic claw disappeared, and an extraordinarily handsome man appeared. His face was pale, and he was wearing a black suit. He looked unusually elegant, like a noble walking in the dark. And in his hand, there was a blood-colored bead, which was made of the essence and blood of those magical beasts that he had crushed before. Blood Clan. Yi Shiwen immediately recognized him. Among the devil race, there were many who looked like humans. However, only the fallen angels and vampires could look like humans and were extraordinarily handsome. So, it wasn't difficult to guess his identity by looking at his appearance. This flesh and blood is barely enough. Even if I get injured in the divine treasures, I should be able to recover quickly, this master of the Blood Clan said to himself. Unlike other clans, the Blood Clan could absorb the essence of flesh and blood and recover quickly. Although other clans could also absorb the essence of flesh and blood, it would take a long time to transform, unlike the Blood Clan, which could recover almost immediately. Therefore, in the eyes of many clans, the Blood Clan was simply feared by everyone because of their special martial techniques and special physiological structure. In their eyes, everyone was blood food. Sure enough, it's the divine treasures of the Demon King. They are all aiming for the divine treasures of the Demon King. It's impossible, unless it's the direct disciple of the Demon King. Otherwise, how can there be a method to open the divine treasures of the Demon King? Could it be that the inheritance of the Demon King is still in this world? Yi's eyes flashed with an astonishing light. Yi Shiwen, this may not be good news for you. You are the direct disciple of the Demon King. I personally selected you. Although you have always refused to transform your devil body, many of the things you have learned are the direct disciples of the Demon King, so you can also inherit the Demon King's luck and treasures. If you were alone, you would have a meteoric rise. But now, you have an opponent, and he is likely to obtain the inheritance of the Demon King in other places. At that time, someone will compete with you for the divine treasures, and if you can't defeat him, then things will be really troublesome. In other words, I will have to defeat this competitor in the future, right? Yi Shiwen said. That's right, the divine treasures left behind by the Devil King are enough for one person to have a meteoric rise. But if two people share it, the effect will be much worse. You two will definitely fight each other to the death, and he will absolutely not let you go. Moreover, the most important thing is that you have always been unwilling to accept the inheritance of the Devil King. So far, only the Devil Wings can be regarded as a direct descendant martial art. The other martial arts are scattered all over the place, and they are too scattered. You may not be his opponent in a real fight. Now, the only good news is that he still doesn't know of your existence, but you know of his existence. He is in the light, and you are in the dark, so you still have a chance. Although the opposite party was also the direct disciple of the Demon King, but Yi Mo would not be soft-hearted, and the only person he truly recognized was Yi Shiwen, and no one else knew where this Tom, Dick, and Harry came from. So how could he recognize him? Not necessarily, although I didn't inherit all the martial arts of the Demon King, but I also have a lot of precious techniques, and I don't think I'm weaker than anyone else. If we really have to compete, I also have the intention to compete with him, Yi Shiwen said confidently. Hey, but no matter what, this is not good news for you. This time, with his help, I am afraid that it will be much more difficult for us to seize the divine treasures. I thought that it would be a piece of cake, but now there are so many twists and turns, Yi Mo said. He did not deny Yi Shiwen's words. Indeed, many of Yi Shiwen's precious techniques were not weak, such as Phoenix Regeneration Technique, Overturning the Sky Seal, Tyrant Body Scripture, Observing Person Scripture, and so on. Any one of them could be regarded as amazing precious techniques. And if any one of them was practiced to the extreme, it would be enough to rank in the ranks of the top powerhouses. Even if he fought against the direct disciple of the Demon King, he might not be at a disadvantage. This was also the reason why Yi Mo rarely forced Yi Shiwen to learn demonic techniques. Yi Mo had now thought it through. Everyone's path was different, and it was unrealistic to want to copy the path of the Demon King. Otherwise, there would not only be a few powerhouses in the world. Even if Yi Shiwen did not obtain the direct disciple of the Demon King, he had also carved out his own path over the years and made a name for himself. While the two were communicating with their divine senses, the vampire had already collected the blood bead and disappeared into the sky. It turns out that there is still a fallen angel hidden here. Just when Yi Shiwen came out again, a cold voice came directly over. It was the vampire who had just disappeared. At this time, he was looking at Yi Shiwen with some greed. I said that I wouldn't smell it wrong. The aura of this surging blood is really too strong, but I just couldn't find it. Tiske, now I found it, die for me. The vampire grinned and immediately clawed towards Yi Shiwen. The terrifying strength of the peak of the ninth heavens of the celestial realm was displayed in an instant, and his speed was extremely fast. The vampire itself was famous for its speed. Among the 8 major royal families, their speed could almost be regarded as the first. Even the Hidden Devil clan could not compete with the vampire in terms of speed. The Hidden Devil clan's attack speed was extremely fast, but his own speed was still not as fast as that of the vampire. He could only rely on his strange agility to contend with the vampire. Swish! The Devil's Claw had already caught in front of Yi Shiwen in an instant, and the terrible astral wind tore Yi Shiwen's skin, causing him pain. Yi Shiwen's eyes were incomparably horrified, but his feet did not slow down at all. He stepped forward again and again, and the pair of seemingly decorative wings behind him instantly stretched out like clouds covering the sky. Swish! Yi Shiwen's figure instantly turned into a golden light and directly disappeared in midair. The Devil's Claw directly clawed out of the golden light and failed to crush Yi Shiwen's head. However, it still clawed out a large piece of flesh from his body. Yi Shiwen's figure appeared in the distance. A large piece of flesh had been directly torn out of his abdomen, and blood was completely splattering out. There was also a blood-colored energy wreaking havoc on it. His complexion was abnormally pale, and he was slightly shocked. This vampire's speed was really frighteningly fast, almost comparable to the speed of piercing through the void. The vampire directly stuffed that piece of flesh into his mouth, chewed it, and swallowed it into his stomach. A surge of aura sublimated in his body, and he looked at Yi Shiwen with even more ferocious eyes. Chapter 1592. TSKSK, the taste of this flesh and blood isn't that of a fallen angel. I have eaten many fallen angels in my life, but they didn't taste like this. This is the taste of a human. How can it be the taste of a human? This vampire seemed to be talking to himself. Is it a hybrid between a fallen angel and a human? Whoosh! Suddenly, the devil claw pierced through the void and swept over. It rushed towards Yi Shiwen without any warning. It seemed as if this vampire was still talking. However, this attack had already arrived. It seemed as if it was effortless and easy. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but be incomparably shocked. After all, this cultivation could be considered as the strongest among the experts of the ninth heavens of the celestial realm. In fact, it was only half a step away from the celestial realm. Fortunately, Yi Shiwen had suffered a loss a moment ago, so he had been prepared for it. So he had frantically retreated even though this attack had been very sudden. Yi Shiwen, run away quickly. I'm afraid that this vampire will soon enter the celestial realm. You're no match for him, Yi Mo promptly shouted. Yi Shiwen didn't dare to delay at this time. He promptly rushed towards the direction of the space-time node that Yi Mo had pointed out. That vampire was in constant pursuit behind him. He had swallowed a small piece of Yi Shiwen's flesh a moment ago, and his aura had become even more stable. Yi Shiwen didn't know how many precious medicines he had swallowed. His flesh and blood had become so exuberant. Swallowing flesh and blood might not be that effective for other races. However, he was a vampire, so he naturally had his own race's secret technique. He had a premonition that he would be able to enter the celestial realm if he could swallow this tyrannical and terrifying fallen angel's flesh and blood. This was an enormous opportunity for him. So, how could he possibly let it go? Yi Shiwen crazily rushed towards that space-time node. Yi Mo's figure appeared behind him. He then pinched a complicated hand sign. Rumble! The entire space-time door slowly opened. Then, Yi Shiwen's figure rushed in like lightning. That vampire was a step too late. He couldn't catch up. He could only look on helplessly as Yi Shiwen's figure disappeared. He couldn't help but roar unceasingly. However, he quickly entered the space-time node. Although he didn't have Yi Shiwen's means, but this space-time node had already been opened by someone. So, he could enter it by expending some means. After entering the space-time node, Yi Shiwen was slightly relieved. The wound on his abdomen did not show any signs of improvement. The bloody energy was constantly wreaking havoc on it. Even if he had the Phoenix regeneration technique, he would not be able to do anything about it before it was completely cleaned up. After half an hour, Yi Shiwen finally cleaned up the bloody energy. Without this bloody energy, this terrible wound was almost healed in just a moment. At this time, Yi Shiwen was in the mood to take a look at his surroundings. He had escaped in a hurry just now, so he didn't have the time to take a good look at where he was in the end. Not far away, there was a large area of spatial turbulence. If anyone tried to pass through it, they would immediately be attacked by the spatial turbulence. This spatial turbulence was personally led by the Demon King in the past. Unless there is the right way to open it, otherwise, once you come in, you will fall directly into that spatial turbulence. At that time, those who are not strong enough will be torn into pieces. Yi Mo said, in the bursts of spatial turbulence, it was not the wind, but the power of space. It was very terrifying. If one was not careful and entered, he may be torn into powder by the power of space. But if you want to go in, you still have to pass through here. Just in time. Let me see how powerful this is. Yi Shiwen said, directly turned into a golden lightning and rushed in. Yi Shiwen had just rushed in, and suddenly, countless power of space gushed out. The golden divinities on his body were cut into pieces in an instant, turning into golden fragments as if he had suffered a serious injury. Immediately afterward, these power of space directly penetrated the space on the spot and cut Yi Shiwen's body. Poochie! 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 Yi Shiwen's body suddenly had a huge, blood-colored long strip, and blood gushed out like a column. Damn! Yi Shiwen immediately did not dare to stay, and hurriedly went inside. This was too terrifying. If it was an ordinary person with a weaker physical body, he would have been cut in half by the power of space on the spot. But even with the tyrannical tyrant body, he was still cut into huge wounds. After a while, his whole body was like a bloody man. But Yi Shiwen did not stop it because he found that with continuous injuries, he was constantly recovering, and his tyrant body was actually slowly improving. His tyrant body had already been cultivated to the highest realm, and it was extremely difficult to injure him, so his progress was also very, very slow. Now here, he could actually improve. Although the progress was very small every time he was injured, it was quite considerable when so many injuries accumulated. Yi Shiwen, you can't stop here. Although there are some benefits here, they are actually nothing at all. The real benefits are in the treasure house, and these are nothing at all, Yimo reminded. Yi Shiwen suddenly woke up. Yes, that's right, these benefits are nothing at all. When I get the treasure of the Demon King, the real benefits will come like a spring. Immediately, he did not stop and went all the way to the depths of the space turbulence. He walked all the way, and after a full hour, he barely left the space turbulence. At this time, his whole body was completely soaked in blood. In just a short while, the wounds on his body were almost completely healed. Now, this is only the periphery of the treasure house. If we want to really get the treasure, the first thing we must do is to get the treasure house key. Only with the key can we really enter the treasure house and obtain the endless divine treasures in the treasure house. Yimo said, "Where is this key?" Yi Shiwen asked. The key should be in the central area of the periphery. Yimo said, "There is a palace over there. In the palace, there are countless mechanical beasts guarding it. Ordinary people have no way to get close to it. However, I have a method to make these mechanical beasts not attack us. Once we directly enter the palace, we can directly take the key and leave. We must go there as soon as possible. If we let that person take the lead, then it may be a disaster for you. Without the treasure in this place, your progress will undoubtedly fall behind a lot." Yi Shiwen nodded, and immediately began to directly start towards the central area without any hesitation. This treasure house area was very large. He flew for a full half a day, and finally reached the periphery of the palace. In front of him was a huge mountain range, and on top of the mountain range stood a very large group of palaces, proud and peerless. When Yi Shiwen arrived, he found that he was not the only one who had arrived. The vampire who had originally been chasing him had arrived a step ahead of him. However, at this time, he was quite embarrassed. It was completely different from the elegant, aristocratic posture that Yi Shiwen had when he first saw him. Yi Shiwen quickly hid, held his breath, and did not dare to let the vampire discover him. Otherwise, he was afraid that a chase would be inevitable. In addition to this vampire, there was also the huge devil bird that Yi Shiwen had seen before. At this time, it was also flapping its wings high above the clouds, constantly hovering above this mountain peak. In addition to this devil bird, there were also tyrannical figures hiding in the void. Or it could be said that they did not hide at all. A powerful aura was released, and the weakest among them was the realm of the ninth heavens of celestial realm. Boom! Suddenly, a huge foot descended from the sky, from the depths of the clouds, wanting to trample on the palace. However, this palace suddenly bloomed with endless light, and the multicolored light covered the vast sky, forming an amazing martial arts torrent, and bombarded this big foot. Roars! The owner of the big foot could not help but let out a loud roar. His entire ankle had been cut off and blood sprayed out. Although he quickly reattached it, it was still a great humiliation for him. However, he did not continue to trample on the foot because he was very clear about what this meant. Humph, this is really ridiculous. He actually wants to attack this palace. One must know that this palace was personally built by the Devil King in the past. Although it is not a magic tool, but the power it possesses is not something that he can imagine. Yemo could not help but sneer and said, as the spirit of the Devil King, it could be said that he had always been following the Devil King in battle. Many of the Devil King's personal disciples and confidants were not aware of this matter, but he was aware of it. Everyone was quietly waiting and waiting. Not everyone was as impatient as the owner of the big foot. Soon, a figure appeared in the void, tearing through the vast sky. It was an unknown race of devil race, and its whole body was covered with colorful scales. Its eyes were bright and full of expression, and it had a disdainful momentum. Its cultivation was unfathomable, and Yi Shiwen was unable to see through it. He quickly discovered these hidden masters in the void, but he did not care about anything and directly rushed into the palace. At the entrance of the palace, several powerful mechanical beasts simply turned a blind eye to him, and it seemed as if they did not care about him at all. Suddenly, everyone could not bear it any longer and rushed into the palace one after another. Yi Shiwen, quickly rush. That person must have obtained the inheritance of the Devil King from somewhere, so he can freely enter and exit the palace. Now take advantage of the chaos and rush in. Yemo shouted again and again. Yi Shiwen did not rush in just now because he was afraid of being attacked by a joint attack, and any one of them here was more terrifying than him. Chapter 1593. As that person rushed into the palace, everyone couldn't wait any longer. The reason why everyone was waiting here obediently was none other than to wait for the arrival of this person. At this time, they finally saw the arrival of this person and immediately rushed over. But when these people just got close, it immediately caused a strong rebound from the few mechanical beasts at the door. These mechanical beasts all roared and rushed towards these people. Kacha! With a sound, a 9th-level celestial realm demon who rushed the fastest had his head bitten off by a mechanical beast on the spot. He died extremely miserably, and that demon bird directly swooped down. Its claws directly clawed the vast sky, grabbing onto the body of this mechanical beast. This mechanical beast was torn in half. But these mechanical beasts seemed to be endless, jumping out of the palace one after another, endless. Every one of them was at the 9th level of Celestial Realm, and even some of the mechanical beast kings were terrifying existences at the Celestial Realm. How is this possible? There are actually so many mechanical beasts here. That vicious bird opened its mouth, speaking in the human language. Although it was very fierce and incomparably cruel, when it saw so many dense and endless mechanical beasts, it still felt a sense of fear. Boom! 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 These 9th-level Celestial Realm mechanical beasts all opened their bloody mouths. Waves of terrifying energy swept out, and a few demons who couldn't escape in time were blown to pieces on the spot. One had to know that these were not ordinary demons. They were at the 9th layer of the sky, human realm. In the outside world, they were powerful enough to rule over a region and become the ancestors of a region. However, in here they were beaten like dead dogs. At this time, the devil race also unceremoniously attacked one after another. Terrifying attacks were like raindrops. Yi Shiwen was watching from the back. Unexpectedly, there were more than 100 devils attacking, and these 100 devils were all above the 9th heavenly layer of Celestial Realm. It was extremely terrifying. Among them, there was also a faint aura of the Celestial Realm experts sweeping through. Yi Shiwen looked at them and did not make a move. However, he still felt a chill running down his spine. In the outside world, a mechanical beast of the 9th heavenly layer level was absolutely priceless. However, in here it was simply like an army, endless and endless. This was the handiwork of the Demon King. To him, this was merely a divine treasure, but he had arranged such a terrifying backup plan. If an ordinary person were to enter again, they would definitely die. Celestial Realm Demons, TSK, points, 100,000 points, kill a few more, then there is no need to compete for this list. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but said with some excitement. It is useless. This is a special space arranged by the Demon King. The points on your body are useless. It is impossible to transmit information out, so no matter how many you kill inside, it is useless. Not to mention, even if these demons are injured, they are not people you can deal with. Yemo couldn't help but pour cold water on Yi Shiwen. Right now, the most important thing is to not let that kid take away the key. Yemo couldn't help but pour cold water on her. The most important thing right now is to not let that brat take the key away. What do you think these people are guarding here for? They are very clear that they can't take the key away by themselves, because they can't break through the blockade of so many mechanical beasts. Therefore, they are waiting for that brat to come out and throw his life away. Although they can't enter, they can wait for that brat to bring the key out. At that time, I'm afraid that brat will really be finished. Therefore, your opportunity will only be there for a short period of time to snatch the key away. Moreover, you can also take advantage of this opportunity to use these experts to eliminate your opponent. Yemo coldly said, even if the opponent had also inherited the Devil King's inheritance. But for him, it was simply not a big deal. He was still an opponent that must be eradicated. Otherwise, it was possible that he would become a very well-known threat to him. Yi Shiwen quietly waited, lying in ambush, waiting for an opportunity. He was very clear that whether it was these mechanical beasts or the demon race, they were not something he could deal with. If it was just these mechanical beasts, Yemo could still deal with them, but these demon race exceeded the power that Yemo could deal with. He only had one chance, and only when these people were a little relaxed could he succeed. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to succeed. And among these mechanical beasts, there was also a mechanical beast king that was also in a frenzy of killing. This was a celestial realm existence. The speed of its killing was incomparably terrifying. Beast, die for me. Suddenly, the demon bird that was hovering in the sky finally couldn't bear it anymore. It directly rushed down, its claws directly rushing towards the mechanical beast king to kill. This was the true, genuine eagle claw art. Roar! The mechanical beast king roared. On the spot, raised its front claws. Like a sharp sword, it slashed down. Poochie! The demon bird's claws were chopped off on the spot. It couldn't help but cry out in pain. It hurriedly flew up, dodging the mechanical beast king's next attack. It spread its wings, covering the entire sky. It was incomparably huge, but now it was beaten up by this mechanical beast. It instantly felt exceptionally humiliated, but there was nothing it could do. The place where its claws were chopped off regrew. Everyone couldn't help but be incomparably shocked. Even in a one-on-one collision, this demon bird was still defeated like a random soldier. It was simply too strong to scare people to death. This demon bird continuously roared in the sky, circling continuously. When had it really suffered such a huge loss, this made it feel a little depressed. Are you all not going to attack? If we don't clear this batch of mechanical beasts, then when that kid comes out, he might control this palace. These mechanical beasts might all become that kid's helpers. The demon bird roared, looking at the other celestial realm experts who didn't do anything. The reason why these people immediately attacked after the demon lord's successor entered was also because of this reason, in case these mechanical beasts became that person's greatest helper. As expected from the legendary god's treasure, just these mechanical beasts alone, if they could be subdued, they would be priceless outside haze. At this moment, accompanied by a faint sigh, an emaciated old demon finally made his move. His first move was a demonic hand that covered the sky, directly slapping towards the huge mechanical beast king. It was an old man of the hidden devil clan. His cultivation had reached such a level that he could be called the king of assassins. His casual attack revealed a strange aura. His speed was incomparably fast. By the time everyone reacted, his palm had already landed on the body of the mechanical beast. Pung! With a loud roar, the large hand landed on the body of the mechanical beast. However, there was a sound of metal clashing, and a dark green light flashed. His hand was smeared with poison. To any living creature, it could easily poison them to death. The hidden demon race itself was the biggest killer organization in the demon race. They had all kinds of killing methods. It was also a race that everyone hated. However, his opponent was this mechanical beast king. This mechanical beast king, This mechanical beast king wasn't a living creature. It didn't have the concept of poison at all. The poison had melted a part of its body, but it wasn't able to cause more damage to it. On the contrary, it opened its bloody mouth, almost biting the hidden demon race old man's big hand to pieces. To these mechanical beasts, there was no such thing as intelligence. Or rather, they weren't afraid of death. They didn't know what death was. Even the strongest death warrior couldn't be compared to these mechanical beasts on this point. Let's see how arrogant you are. Suddenly, another Heaven Realm expert made a move. It was a middle-aged man from the Shura race. He was incomparably ugly. His voice was also very unpleasant to hear. The long spear in his hand swept across the sky, fiercely smashing towards the mechanical beast king. Hong! The long spear fiercely smashed into the ground. It didn't pierce the mechanical beast king, but it turned a few mechanical beasts in the row below into powder. Then, there was an incomparably loud roar. A giant demon flood dragon came out of the void, its mouth spitting out endless demon water. It wanted to drown these mechanical beasts, but before it could do so, it saw that the mechanical beasts all aimed their energy cannons in its direction. These mechanical beasts weren't afraid of death at all. They didn't even know how to dodge. And the most terrifying thing was that they were made of unknown materials. They were extremely hard to damage. Don't think that these Heaven Realm experts could easily kill a mechanical beast, but that was under the situation where they had an advantage in terms of cultivation realm. The energy cannons of these mechanical beasts continuously bombarded over. Even this demon flood dragon was beaten into a sorry state. Not to mention the others, there were simply too many of these mechanical beasts. Luckily, these mechanical beasts didn't seem to be able to leave the range of the palace. Otherwise, everyone could only flee in a sorry state. I'll go all out. At this moment, the middle-aged Azura was furious. He started to attack the mechanical beast king. There was also that demon flood dragon, that demon bird, as well as the old man from the hidden demon race. The 4 Heaven Realm experts all attacked the mechanical beast king. If it was a normal Heaven Realm expert, facing the sneak attack of 4 experts of the same realm, they would probably flee. But after all, the mechanical beasts didn't have their own thoughts. They didn't know what fear was, on the contrary. They still charged forward. Honk! 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 Every time these 5 experts clashed, it would cause the heaven and earth to shake. Chapter 1594. The battle between Heaven Realm experts could be said to be earth-shaking, and even the heavens and earth would collapse. Fortunately, this space had been specially reinforced by the Demon King, so even a battle between Heaven Realm experts couldn't completely destroy this place. I'm gonna rush in. The situation has changed. If that guy controls the key and these mechanical beasts, I'm afraid we won't be a match for him. Even with these people, it's useless. Yi Shiwen looked from afar and said while gritting his teeth, "That's true. If he controls these mechanical beasts, then it'll be too late." Yimo thought about it and immediately agreed with Yi Shiwen's judgment. Yi Shiwen immediately took advantage of the fact that these mechanical beasts and demon experts were being held up by others to immediately rush in. Those demons all saw Yi Shiwen's figure. Although Yi Shiwen's speed was extremely fast, they didn't take it to heart. At this time, wouldn't rushing and be courting death? Who knew how many mechanical beasts there were inside? That vampire also saw Yi Shiwen and couldn't help but feel that it was a pity. If Yi Shiwen died in the hands of the mechanical beasts, then the flesh and blood would have nothing to do with him. He couldn't help but feel that it was a pity. If he could devour Yi Shiwen's flesh and blood, then he could immediately step into the Heaven Realm. At that time, he would truly be able to fight against these Heaven Realm experts. But what surprised them was that these mechanical beasts actually didn't attack Yi Shiwen. Not good. This kid is also strange. Damn it. Just right, let the 2 of them go in and kill each other. No, if both of them die inside and both of them are injured, who will help us bring out the key? Someone objected. To them, it didn't matter who went in. The key was to bring out the key. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to their efforts being in vain. Yi Shiwen rushed all the way into the main hall. But after entering the main hall, he became even more terrified because there were powerful mechanical beasts lying on the ground everywhere, and these beasts had not yet awakened. At a glance, he could see at least thousands of mechanical beasts. The Demon King is really generous. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but sigh. These are actually nothing at all. What kind of person is the Demon Monarch? The celestial realm is nothing more than an ant to him. They are nothing at all. Yemo said in disdain. Even a heaven realm expert is nothing in the eyes of the Demon Lord. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. A heaven realm expert could already affect the situation of the ancient Baron's continent. Yet, they were nothing in the eyes of the Demon Monarch. He didn't stop and rushed straight into the depths of the hall. Before he could reach the depths of the hall, he heard an intense confrontation coming from the depths of the hall. You think you can make me surrender? This was a man's voice that sounded like a bell. You're just a mere artifact spirit, and now you want to rebel? I am the only successor of the Demon Monarch. If you follow me, there will definitely be many benefits. In the future, you will also be able to become a god. In the future, when I become the Demon Monarch of the Demon World, you will also be able to obtain freedom. How about it? This was the voice of a young man. His voice was a little hoarse, but it was extremely bewitching. What a joke! Do you think you can get rid of me with such a small favor? The man sneered. I have cultivated for thousands of years before I can take human form. It wasn't easy for me to endure until the death of the Demon Monarch. Now it is time for me to be liberated. Do you think I will still submit to someone else and be their dog? What a joke. Unless a god comes, no one can make me surrender. Yi Shiwen immediately held his breath and flew forward. He saw the young demon who had just entered the hall and was facing off against the spear-like key in the middle of the hall. The key gave off an incomparably terrifying aura. It was actually a celestial realm cultivation. The aura it gave off seemed to have completely frozen the entire space. The young demon didn't show any weakness and released a terrifying aura to fight against the key. As the two heaven realm existences were facing off against each other, they didn't notice Yi Shiwen's existence at all. Or rather, they didn't expect someone to barge in again. That was because no one expected that the Demon Monarch would have a second successor. Before this, Yi Shiwen had never thought that the Demon Monarch would have another successor. The current situation was that Yi Shiwen was in the light and the Demon Monarch was in the dark. This was also Yi Shiwen's only chance. The other successor of the Demon Monarch seemed to be much stronger than him. He had actually stepped into the heaven realm cultivation. It was really terrifying. Yemo, what's going on? This key has actually taken human form? Yi Shiwen was a little dumbfounded. I didn't expect that either, but it's possible. The demonic monarch refined this key in the past. Although it's just a key, it's still an existence that surpasses the top level of the heaven rank. After countless years, it's very possible that it can take form. Yemo also didn't expect it. After all, the situation he grasped was from many years ago. Now it was completely different from the past. Damn it, if that is the case, it is not good. After all, although that guy is also the successor of the Demon Monarch, you are the successor that I recognize. In essence, you are more orthodox than that guy. You are the direct successor of the Demon Monarch. But now this tool spirit has its own ambition. Damn it. Yemo couldn't help but be anxious. He was a tool spirit that was born before the Demon Monarch was alive. The Demon Monarch naturally had his own methods to control him. But the tool spirit that was transformed from the key was not controlled at all. When they were born, the Demon Monarch had already fallen. He couldn't control this situation. Although he definitely left a backup plan, after all, he had already fallen. He couldn't predict everything. I think you're tired of living. How dare you betray the Demon Monarch? The young devil said coldly. There was a hint of impatience in his tone. Obviously, he had never thought that this kind of situation would happen. The key could actually transform and get rid of the restrictions set by the Demon Monarch. Betray? Of course not. I have been waiting for your arrival. As long as I can kill you, I can completely transform and get rid of the control of the Demon Monarch. At that time, I can rely on my body to directly open the divine treasures. At that time, I will have nothing. The world will be mine. At that time, my cultivation will definitely soar. I will be able to prove my Tao and become a god. Do you think that I still need to lie down beside you like a dog and beg for your bestowment? The spear-like key said in a middle-aged man's voice. Then don't blame me, the young devil said with a cold smile. All the power in his body began to boil. Boundless devil chi formed around his body. A devil blade appeared in his hand. It exuded monstrous devil chi. Endless blade light condensed in the air and turned into a monstrous blade light. It set off a dreadful airwave and fiercely chopped towards the key. With just you, the key sneered. It transformed into a middle-aged devil in the air. It was unknown which race he belonged to. He grabbed with his big hand, and his key body transformed into a long spear. Then, monstrous devil chi splashed out, and the spear pierced forward. Bang! The two of them suddenly issued a dreadful collision. The dreadful power instantly swept out in circles. The dreadful airwave made Yi Shiwen feel as if he was about to be blown out of the void. It was too dreadful. Thump, thump, thump. The young devil retreated several steps in order to reduce the power of his body. It seemed that he had suffered a slight loss. I've said it before, you're no match for me at all. You don't know this, but over the countless years, my cultivation has already reached a level that you can't even imagine. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm limited to this damned weapon spirit body, I could even become a god. The middle-aged man who transformed into a key laughed loudly. He looked at the young devil and sneered. His tone was full of resentment. But it doesn't matter. As long as I kill you and end this karma, the restriction left by the Devil King will automatically lose its effect. At that time, my cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. Ha ha! Damn it! How can he be so strong? The young devil said in shock. Although he had entered the celestial realm, there was a huge gap between him and the middle-aged man who transformed into a key. He couldn't take him down. Die for me! At this time, the middle-aged devil who transformed into a key shouted. His long spear instantly shot out. Suddenly, the wind blew against it, and it became like a mountain. It directly stabbed towards the young devil. Bang! There was another earth-shattering explosion. Endless demonic chi swept out in circles. The space was distorted crazily. It was as if a painting was constantly being distorted. The scene was very terrifying. This time, the young devil couldn't block it at all. He was directly sent flying. You want to fight against me at the peak of the celestial realm with just an early stage? What a joke! The middle-aged devil, who transformed into a key, laughed loudly and chased towards the young devil again. The young devil finally realized that he might not be a match for the middle-aged devil who transformed into a key. If he continued to fight, it would be disadvantageous for him. Damn it. Just you wait. I have a way to kill you. Don't fall into my hands, otherwise I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. That devil race youth also roared ferociously. Unfortunately, you won't have this chance. At this time, the middle-aged devil who transformed into a key laughed sinisterly and chased directly. The demonic spear in his hand swept across the sky like a dragon. Chapter 1595. Unfortunately, you won't have this opportunity. At this time, the key incarnation of the middle-aged devil grinned and directly chased after the youth. The demonic spear in his hand swept across the sky like a flood dragon. Boom! With a loud roar, the long spear directly blasted a big hole in the ground of the palace. At this critical moment, a pair of demonic wings unfolded behind the youth's back and instantly dodged this fatal attack. Devil's wings! Yi Shiwen immediately recognized that this was clearly the devil's wings. He had practiced for 200 years, so how could he not know? However, the level of the devil's wings was much lower than Yi Shiwen's. Yi Shiwen's wind and thunder wings had been practiced to the peak level, and this was obviously only at the level of the devil's wings. In other words, the devil's wings were only at the first level. This was indeed the successor of the Demon King. However, it seems that he didn't get the complete cultivation method of the devil's wings. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this. Yimo's vision was very shrewd, and he could see at a glance that the cultivation method of the devil's wings was obviously not complete. Not good. You also have to leave quickly, otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape. This is already beyond my expectation, damn it. Yemo quickly reacted and said. At this time, the key incarnation of the middle-aged devil had already chased the youth all the way to the outside of the hall. However, fortunately, this key shouldn't have truly grasped this hall. Otherwise, these mechanical beasts alone would be enough to completely bury us. Yemo said. This key should also be a magic tool. Yishuan asked. Yes, this is also a magic tool refined by the Demon King in the past called the Thunder Spear. The body of this spear is a piece of 10,000-year-old divine iron, and then it was forged with the chaos divine thunder. It was originally intended to be the key of this treasure house, and I originally wanted you to subdue the Thunder Spear, but who knew that it would actually turn out like this? Yemo said with some distress. At this time, Yishuan's figure was constantly changing and directly followed. Boom! 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 The two fought all the way out of the hall's entrance. Someone is coming out. At this time, those devils finally saw someone coming out. But this time, it was completely different from what they had imagined. Because apart from that young devil, there was also an incomparably terrifying existence. Even if they were all celestial realm experts, there was a huge gap in strength between them. And this one was obviously extremely powerful. After exiting the gate of the palace, the young man from the demon clan did not stop for even a moment and flew out in an instant. Don't even think about leaving. Stop. Leave the key behind. Stop right there. The experts of the devil race were enraged. One after another, huge hands reached out to grab the young devil race. However, although the young devil had only obtained the cultivation method of the incomplete devil wings, coupled with his tyrannical strength, his speed was still extremely fast. In an instant, he dodged the attacks of these people and directly escaped. Stop! Damn it! Go to hell! These devils were all enraged. They had waited for half a day to obtain the key from this person. Only by obtaining the key could they have a chance to open the treasury. Otherwise, there was no way to open the treasury at all, unless they also wanted to rush through the layers of protection of these mechanical beasts and obtain the key. However, they were also very clear that this was simply impossible. Instantly, they all chased in that direction. At this time, the blood race did not leave because he had another goal. Instead of chasing after the celestial realm expert that he could not defeat, he might as well wait for another person. He clearly saw Yishuan rush in just now, so he was waiting for Yishuan to come out. This was also his only way. He could not forget about Yishuan's flesh and blood. After devouring Yishuan's flesh and blood, he would be able to step into the celestial realm. This was more important than anything else. Even if he could not obtain the key, it would not be considered a waste. And at this time, as expected, a golden figure directly dashed out. Fallen angel, don't think of leaving. He immediately turned into a ray of blood light and chased directly. There's actually someone else. The spear of thunder suddenly reacted. There was actually someone hiding behind him, and he actually did not know it all just now. Although it was because he was held back by the young devil. Even so, under normal circumstances, it was impossible for him not to know it all. The only possibility was that his hidden skills were too good. But why could he also come in? Could it be that he was also the successor of the Demon King? The Spear of Thunder could not help but think a lot, but there was no way. As the key, he could not leave this palace at all, and he could not help but feel a little annoyed. It was not easy to set up a trap to lure the successor of the Demon King in, but in the end, it turned out to be like this. He could not help but be extremely angry. Roar! He let out a loud roar, which shook out and spread out in circles. Yishuan, hurry up and leave. That blood race is catching up again. Yemo hurriedly reminded. Yishuan took a look, and sure enough, the bloody light behind him followed closely. The movement technique of this blood race was obviously very brilliant. Although it was not comparable to the Devil's Wings, it was still very brilliant, and his realm was much higher than Yishuan's, completely crushing Yishuan, so he could only chase after Yishuan without letting go. Damn, it's really a bone maggot. Yishuan could not help but curse. The devil's wings behind him were constantly flapping. Now I definitely can't get the key. Even if I have the ability to break through the siege of the mechanical beasts, it is useless. The spirit of the Spear of Thunder has been born for many years and has also cultivated for many years. His cultivation is not something that I can compare with now. Unless I step into the celestial being realm, it is impossible for me to be his opponent. Yi Shiwen said. Yi Shiwen was very clear that after the celestial being realm was the celestial being realm, and the celestial being realm was divided into the early stage of the celestial being realm, the middle stage of the celestial being realm, the late stage of the celestial being realm, and the peak of the celestial being realm. This Spear of Thunder had already stepped into the peak of the celestial being realm. Unless he stepped into the celestial being realm, it might be possible for him to really contend with the Spear of Thunder. But he was now only at the 5th level of the celestial being realm. If he wanted to step into the celestial being realm, he did not know how long it would take. In a short period of time, it was simply impossible. I have another way, Yemo said. Although there may be no way to deal with the Spear of Thunder for the time being, there is another way. In this treasure house, in addition to the Spear of Thunder, the Demon King also buried a few similar instruments. Although they are not keys, they were also sacrificially refined by the Demon King in the past. As long as you can get these instruments, you still have a way to open the treasure house. What about the other instruments? Yi Shiwen asked. Well, they're the 9 Underworld Royal Flag, the Angel's Sword, the Spear of Thunder, and the Blade of Fury. These instruments, in addition to the Spear of Thunder that can directly lead to the depths of the treasure house, the others also have the opportunity to enter the treasure house, but may have to go through some twists and turns. Yemo said, this kind of situation is something I never thought of before, but fortunately, he did not get this opportunity. This is our opportunity. His strength is much stronger than you. If you really fought for the key just now, you may not be his opponent. This is a good opportunity for everyone to return to the same starting point. The most important thing now is how to get rid of the vampire behind us. We must not let him follow us. Otherwise, everything will be for naught. Yi Shiwen said, whoosh. His figure flew extremely fast. It was as if he was shuttling through the void. In an instant, he had already traversed through the entire void. Behind him, the Blood Clan was persevering. It directly chased after him and wouldn't let him go. Fallen angel, don't go, you can't escape. Obediently become my blood food. The greedy voice of the vampire came from behind. Go to hell. Yi Shiwen directly turned around, and then a huge long saber suddenly appeared in his hand. The silver-white surface of the saber exuded endless violent aura, instantly sweeping up directly. Then, countless spiritual energy was directly absorbed by him, directly gathering towards the long saber in his hand. Boom! The long saber slashed out a terrifying saber light, directly sweeping out, turning into a huge torrent of energy, fiercely chopping down. Ah! The vampire screamed miserably. His entire left arm was cut off on the spot, directly exploding into a mass of blood-colored energy. He could not help but turn pale, and his already very pale face became even paler. He did not expect that there would be such a terrifying martial instrument. His speed was already fast enough, but even so, he still almost died under this saber. Just a mere graze, and he almost lost his life. If he were to touch it, then it would be terrible. He could only helplessly watch Yi Shiwen escape, although he also knew that Yi Shiwen might only have the ability to use this saber, but he did not dare to take the risk, because this was a gamble with his life. If Yi Shiwen had the ability to use the second saber, and he could not dodge it in time, then he would be cut on the spot just like his arm. Thinking of this, he could only look at Yi Shiwen's fleeing figure with a gloomy expression, gradually disappearing. His broken arm slowly grew back, but his face was abnormally pale, and his whole body was completely wet, constantly gasping for breath. Just now, he almost died, just a little bit more, and he would be finished. Chapter 1596. After getting rid of this vampire, Yi Shiwen heaved a sigh of relief. This vampire was right. Yi Shiwen only had the power to launch this slash. He still did not have the power to control the emergence immortal exterminating saber. The most obvious manifestation was that he needed to exert all his strength for every slash. If he wanted to fully exert the power of the emergence immortal exterminating saber, he needed to do his best. He continued to gasp for breath, and after a while, his martial power gradually recovered. Let's look for the 9 Underworld Royal Flag first. Yi Mo said, "The Royal Flag of the Underworld is a magical tool that the Demon Monarch refined from the royal water of the Underworld in the depths of the Demon Realm. It's very powerful. If I remember correctly, the Royal Flag of the Underworld should be in the royal water of the Underworld. It's a special space that the Demon Monarch specially created." "All right, then let's hurry over." Yi Shiwen did not stop and began to head in the direction of the 9 Underworld Royal Flag. Yi Shiwen flew all the way for half a day. After that, he reached the edge of this world. Then, Yi Shiwen saw a vast ocean. The seawater in this vast ocean was not ordinary seawater. It actually exuded a kind of underworld aura. However, it was not like the river water of the underworld that was full of the stench of corpses. It was a kind of liquid with a strange fragrance. This should be the 9 Underworld Royal Water that Yi Mo mentioned. Yi Shiwen did not hesitate immediately and directly drilled into the 9 Underworld Royal Water. Soon, Yi Shiwen came to the core area of the entire 9 Underworld Royal Water. There he saw 2 figures. One of them was the demon youth that he had seen before, and the other was a woman wearing a bright yellow dress. She was extremely beautiful and had an exquisite figure. At this time, she was standing straight. Yulian. Yi Mo's face changed slightly. He actually found this place, but it is normal. Since he knows to look for the Thunder Spear, it is not surprising that he knows this place. Yi Shiwen looked at the man and the woman. Yes, I can confirm that you are indeed the successor of the Demon King," said the woman in the bright yellow dress. "This is the truth. You are not like the Thunder Spear who has already betrayed the Demon Lord. When I find the treasure, I will definitely make him suffer a fate worse than death. I will let him know the consequences of betrayal," he said angrily. Obviously, he had been tricked by the Thunderstorm Spear. The anger in his heart could burn through the sky. "As long as you are willing to keep your promise, there is no harm in me agreeing to it," the yellow-clothed woman said. "No problem. Although you are a good magic tool, as long as I can get the Demon King's divine treasury, it will be nothing. I swear, as long as I can get the Demon King's divine treasury, I will take you out and set you free. You have had enough of these dark days for so many years," the young devil said confidently. The yellow-robed woman nodded. She could tell that this devil youth didn't lie to her, and there was no need for him to lie to her. Obtaining the Demon King's divine treasury was equivalent to obtaining everything. In the future, he would be able to achieve meteoric success. But do you really not want to think about it? As the successor of the Demon King, I will definitely restore the supreme prestige of the Demon King in the future, and even have the hope of proving the Tao. If you follow me, you will definitely be able to become a god in the future. Isn't this much better than you struggling bitterly on the path of the artifact spirit? The young devil continued to tempt her. Although if he obtained the Demon King's divine treasury, there would be countless good things and he might not need her. But if he could get her help, there was no doubt that he would have a very powerful helper. "No, it's enough. I have already followed the Demon King to battle. Even if you become the Demon King in the future, what can you do?" The yellow-clothed woman sighed and said, "Then let's do it this way. I am not a person who will force others to do something against their will. But before I get the treasure, you must follow me." The young devil said, "No problem." The yellow-clothed woman said, "Right now, I only know the whereabouts of the Thunder Spear and you, but I don't know the whereabouts of the Berserk Blade and the Angel Sword. I need you to guide me." The young devil said, "This is not a problem, but you are the successor of the Demon King. If you carefully feel it, you should still be able to feel it," the yellow-clothed woman said. Yi Shiwen's expression changed. At this time, he completely understood that this woman was not someone else, but the spirit of the 9 Underworld Royal Flag. "Then let's go and settle this matter as soon as possible." After I get the divine treasury, I will definitely set you free. The young devil said. Yulien, wait a minute. Suddenly, a voice directly penetrated the 9 underworld royal water and fell into the ears of the two people. The complexion of the young devil suddenly changed. When he looked in the direction of the voice, he saw a fallen angel silently appearing not far away from him. He couldn't help but yell loudly, "Who are you?" Yimo's figure appeared, but he didn't care about the young devil at all. He said loudly, Yulien, don't be fooled. That's a fake, not the real one. If you believe him, then you will be fooled. You! The yellow-clothed woman's beautiful eyes widened, as if she couldn't believe Yimo's appearance at all. Lord, you are still alive! She couldn't believe it, as if it was fake. Although Yimo had changed his appearance, she would never forget that aura. Of course I am still alive, Yimo said in a bad mood. Quickly stop this kid. He is a fake successor of the Demon King. I don't know where he got the news here, but he actually came here to swindle people. Hearing Yimo's words, the eyes of the yellow-clothed woman, Yulien, suddenly became fierce. She looked at the young devil with a fierce expression. One was a junior that she had never met, and the other was an adult that she had known for countless years. It was almost clear at a glance who she believed. Nonsense. Of course I am the only successor of the Demon King. The young devil suddenly had a feeling of being fooled. He was obviously the successor of the Demon King, a cross-generation disciple. How could it be fake? This was too ridiculous. Who was this person? How much did he waste to make the spirit of the 9 underworld's royal flag believe that he was the successor of the Demon King? With just a sentence from this person, the spirit of the 9 underworld's royal flag, which had already confirmed his identity, suddenly began to doubt his words. What made him feel the most ridiculous was that he was clearly the real one. Damn, what the hell is going on? You dare to pretend in front of this uncle? Yimo looked indignant. As the successor of the Demon King, you don't even know the devil wings, and it's an incomplete version. I don't know where you learned it from, but you want to swindle people here. You are really courting death. How do you know? The young devil was suddenly shocked. He really did not get the complete cultivation method of the devil wings. In fact, he only got a part of the inheritance of the Demon King. In other words, the inheritance he got was actually only a small part of the inheritance left by the Demon King. He was like the protagonist of a novel, looking for the inheritance of the Demon King everywhere, and little by little, he was able to get the complete inheritance of the Demon King. If there was no Yi Shiwen, he would be the most orthodox successor of the Demon King. However, he met Yi Shiwen, and he directly skipped all the steps and obtained the Tianyuan mirror. Then, with Yimo's help, it was equivalent to saving him a lot of hard work. He was now struggling to find the complete version of the devil wings. Yi Shiwen had been practicing it for more than 100 years. If he knew about this, he would probably cry until he went blind. How could people be so different from each other? It was true that different people had different fates. It was estimated that he would be depressed to death. This itself is a very normal thing, because you are not the successor of the Demon King, so you can't get the complete cultivation method of the devil wings. Yi Shiwen also stepped forward and said, along with Yi Shiwen and Yimo's words, Yulien looked at the young devil's eyes more and more unfriendly. The young devil probably wanted to curse your sister. He was obviously the authentic successor of the Demon King, but now he was being falsely accused as a fake. In fact, whether it was true or not, he was the clearest about it, but there was no other way. Yulien, kill him. He actually dared to pretend to be the successor of the Demon King. This in itself is an unforgivable crime. Yimo shouted loudly. Unforgivable! The aura on Yulien's body rose little by little. For her, there was no more abominable crime than pretending to be the successor of the Demon King. Hey, I am the real successor of the Demon King. You have also tested me a moment ago, and the cultivation method I practice is indeed the authentic successor of the Demon King, right? The young devil couldn't help but look at Yulien in a depressed manner and said, this woman was too fickle. You don't even know him, and you have the nerve to say that you are the successor of the Demon King? The aura on Yulien's body became more and more powerful, and the entire 9 underworld emperor water began to faintly fluctuate, This Lord says that you are a fake. Then you are a fake. And even if you are real, then you are still a fake. How is this possible? How can I believe his words? And on what basis can his words determine whether I am real or fake? The young devil angrily said with dissatisfaction, because this Lord is the only person who can determine whether you are real or fake. And he says that you are a fake. Then you are a fake. Yulian said, why, I don't believe it. The young devil suddenly angrily said, you don't need to believe it now. Since this Lord says that you are a fake, then your only outcome has already been determined. Yulian coldly looked at the young devil and said, Chapter 1597. You don't need to believe it now. Since that Lord said that you are a fake, then your only fate has been confirmed. Yulian looked at the demon youth coldly and said, are you kidding me? I don't need others to judge my authenticity. The demon youth suddenly became furious. You betrayed the demon king like the violent thunder spear. You will be punished. What punishment? I think you are crazy. You want to punish me? Yulian sneered and raised her white hand. Suddenly, the surrounding 9 underworld royal water began to rumble. Immediately, the young man from the devil race felt a terrifying pressure surging in his body, crushing his body. Almost immediately, the power in his body was suppressed. It was extremely terrifying. Although it was not as powerful as the violent thunder spear, it was much more tyrannical than him. Damn it. At this time, the demon youth felt a terrible threat. Since he obtained the inheritance of the demon king, it could be said that he had a smooth journey. While other geniuses were still struggling, he had already broken through to the celestial being realm. With his age, it was enough to show disdain for all heroes. What top geniuses? What demon god's bloodline? They were nothing in his eyes. He was confident that he would be able to prove his Tao in the future. But now, he had suffered setbacks again and again. This made him, a genius who had a smooth journey, feel extremely uncomfortable. Because he had always been successful in every endeavor. There had never been a time when things went wrong. Boom! His body erupted with powerful demon energy. In an instant, the 9 underworld royal water was pushed back by 3 feet. But it was only pushed back by 3 feet. In this place, even moving freely had become a difficult thing for him. Roar! He let out a huge roar. The demon energy behind him directly soared into the sky. It actually condensed into a huge demon shadow. It was dressed in a royal robe and looked like a king. It was the phantom of the demon king. He directly condensed it from the void. From this point of view, it could be seen that he was indeed the direct descendant of the demon king. Even Yi Shiwen did not have this kind of means, because a person was able to condense a devil's image, and it completely depended on the martial arts that he practiced. Yi Shiwen had actually not practiced many martial arts of the Devil Lord, so it was simply impossible for him to condense a Devil Lord shadow. This devil race youth wanted to condense the phantom of the Devil Monarch and forcibly break free from the crushing of the Netherworld royal water. Yulian coldly snorted and pinched a seal with her hand. The entire 9 underworld royal water began to slowly rotate. In an instant, it turned into a huge spirit array. This was a huge spirit array. Her strength was much stronger than the devil race youth, not to mention that she had borrowed the power of the spirit array, making her even more tyrannical. Crash! A stream of water formed a huge torrent and blasted out fiercely. The young devil hurriedly raised his hand to block, but the terrifying torrent of water broke through his defense one after another, directly bombarding his body. Bang! His whole body was blasted away, and he retreated continuously in the Hades royal water. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Yulian with disbelief and unwillingness. The magic tools left behind by the demon lord were truly more abnormal than the last. Crash! 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 A loud rumbling sound was heard, and innumerable torrents of water shot out. They were entwined with innumerable water attribute principles and shot out with a loud rumbling sound. It seemed as if even the world itself would be smashed into pieces. This devil race youth promptly spread his devil wings and dodged to the left and to the right. His devil wings were merely an imperfect version. However, it was only for the complete version that Yi Shiwen had cultivated. In fact, it was still very tyrannical for other people. Shwa, shwa, shwa. His figure continued to dodge in the sky and managed to evade the majority of the torrents. However, these torrents were simply too dense. So, it was impossible for him to evade all of them even if he managed to evade a lot of them. Bang! A torrent of water blasted on his chest, and the dreadful force penetrated his chest and left a shocking bloody hole. He had almost died on the spot. Yu Lian's realm was much more tyrannical than this devil race youth's. Therefore, even the simplest of moves was enough to inflict serious injuries on him. Roar! He continued to roar in anger. His entire body seemed to be completely distorted, and endless power swept out from it. The remnant shadow of the Devil King behind him was also burning. His power had suddenly increased by a lot, and he instantly broke through the great formation that had been condensed by the ninth underworld Emperor Water. Then his figure flickered away like a black lightning. You want to leave? Stay here, Yu Lian coldly snorted. Then, a big hand formed by the ninth underworld Emperor Water grabbed the void and created an endless vacuum in the void. However, it was a bit slower every time. After all, there was still some disparity in speed between her and that devil race youth who had devil wings. Moreover, the advantage of the realm couldn't completely annihilate the advantage of speed. Damn it! Yu Lian's figure directly leaped up. Like a fish, she shuttled through the ninth underworld Emperor Water and instantly caught up to the surface of the water. However, it was useless. The devil race youth was still a step faster. After getting out of the control of the ninth underworld Emperor Water, his speed became even faster. Almost in a flash, he had already disappeared without a trace. At this time, Yi Shiwen had also rushed out. He didn't intervene in the battle between the two just now. This was a battle between celestial beings. It was not something he could intervene at all. Even if that devil race youth wasn't a match for the Thunder Spear and the ninth underworld Emperor flag, he was still a genuine existence of celestial beings. He was still not someone that Yi Shiwen could deal with now. Damn it! Yu Lian didn't chase after him. In the ninth underworld Emperor Water, her advantage could be maximized. Even in a real battle, her speed was not inferior to the devil wings. Because she was born in the ninth underworld Emperor Water, she could be said to be a water spirit. In the ninth underworld Emperor Water, she was naturally incomparable like a fish in the water. However, once out of the ninth underworld Emperor Water, it was difficult for her to catch up with the devil wings. If the devil wings could be so easily caught up, then Yi Shiwen would have died countless times. Although Yi Shiwen could catch up, even if he caught up, he was not a match for that devil race youth. I'm sorry, Lord. I didn't stop him. I didn't expect that he would use such a secret technique. Yu Lian looked at Yi Mo and said. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a strange gentleness, like a wife seeing her husband who hadn't returned home for a long time. Forget it, he used this secret technique. In the short term, he is basically a useless person. I guess he can't even maintain the celestial realm. Yi Mo said. Yi Shiwen didn't ask what secret technique it was. He didn't need to think to know that it must be some kind of self-mutilation secret technique. This kind of secret technique was very common in the devil race because the devil race was often fierce and cruel. For them, as long as they could defeat the opponent, even if they were disabled, it was nothing at all. In fact, they would even take pride in it. Lord, I haven't seen you for many years. Why are you? Yu Lian looked at Yi Mo. How could she not see that Yi Mo was seriously injured? It could be said that he was almost at the end of his life. This was not difficult to see. She couldn't help but reveal a somewhat distressed expression on her face. This is nothing. It can't take my life. Yi Mo waved his hand and said indifferently, This is not the urgent matter now. This is Yi Shiwen. Although he is a human, he is the only successor of the Devil King that I have appointed. Yes. Yu Lian nodded and said yes. She didn't have the slightest doubt. Why would the successor of the Devil King be a human? As she said just now, in this world, there was no one more qualified than Yemo to decide who was the legitimate successor. If Yemo said yes, then he was not. If Yemo said no, then he was not. Greetings, young master. Yu Lian stepped forward and said, "No need to be so polite," Yi Shiwen hastily said. How could he not see that Yi Mo and Yu Lian had a past? Yi Mo wasn't a slave or a scaredy cat in his heart. Instead, he was a brother. Therefore, his attitude towards Yu Lian would naturally be different since that was the case. "Thank you, young master," Yu Lian said. She had a good impression of Yi Shiwen. This young master didn't bully others. She was slightly relieved that she didn't follow the wrong master. In the future, he will be the successor of the Devil King. You have to assist him in the future. In the future, when he proves his Tao, you will naturally benefit. Yi Mo said in a calm tone as much as possible. "Yu Lian, I want to ask what is going on. I originally brought him here to inherit the Devil King's divine treasury. Who knew that the violent thunder spear actually manifested a tool spirit? Moreover, it intends to resist stubbornly and betray the arrangement of the Devil King." Yi Mo asked, "Have you seen the violent thunder spear? Even the sword of angels and the berserk blade are no match for him. He is very ambitious and ambitious. He wants to open the divine treasure of the Devil King with his own strength and completely get rid of the shackles. He has already betrayed the Devil King, betrayed the Lord, and betrayed him. He really deserves to die." Yu Lian gritted her teeth and said, "That's right. In fact, a long time ago, the violent thunder spear had already transformed by accident. He was forged by the Devil King himself with the primordial divine thunder. He was born extraordinary, and after cultivating, he advanced by leaps and bounds. Although I transformed many years earlier than him, my current cultivation is still suppressed by him. Not only that, the sword of angels and the blade of fury are also not his match. Even the tool spirit of the sword of angels was tricked by him. After entering the palace, it was seriously injured and escaped. Not long after, it completely disappeared. It was extremely difficult to give birth to a tool spirit. Cultivation was even more difficult. If one didn't follow the right master, there might not be any progress for thousands of years. Chapter 1598. The only advantage they had was their long lifespan, which was long enough for them to have the opportunity to become a supreme being like other creatures. "The angel sword has fallen?" Yi Mo asked. "Yes, the angel sword has also fallen. The demon king left it to guard the divine treasury. The angel sword has fallen, and the violent thunder spear has rebelled. I'm afraid the berserk blade has great ambitions." Yu Lian said. Yi Mo frowned. This was a thorny problem. If he was at his peak, this wouldn't be a problem at all. If those people dared to disobey him, wouldn't they be courting death? He could casually erase their origin spirits, and they wouldn't be able to do anything. But now it was different. Not to mention that he was at his peak, it could even be said that he was in a very weak state. Now the strength of the violent thunder spear is obviously superior to you. It will be very difficult to defeat him. The most urgent thing now is to find the berserk blade. Yi Mo said, "After that kid suffered a loss here, I'm afraid he will immediately go to find the berserk blade." "Yes." Yi Shiwen nodded. Yu Lian immediately grabbed the void, and a flag that exuded a simple aura appeared in her hand. It flashed a faint yellow light. It should be her body, the 9 Nether Underworld royal flag. Then, she suddenly waved her hand, and the countless 9 Nether Underworld royal water was suddenly absorbed into the 9 Nether Underworld royal flag. In an instant, it disappeared without a trace. The three of them did not delay and quickly flew in the direction of the berserk blade. After flying for half a day, they finally flew to the place where the berserk blade was. But at this time, they found that the berserk blade had already left. The three of them looked a little dignified because at this time, the berserk blade was not in the original place, so there was only one possibility. It was taken away by the demon race youth. In fact, this was very normal. If it was not for Yi Shiwen and Yi Mo's sudden appearance, perhaps Yu Lian would also have gone with the demon race youth. After all, They were all left behind by the Demon King, unless the violent Thunder Spear had completely decided to betray them. As long as they were the descendants of the Demon King, they could still be easily subdued. I didn't expect him to be one step faster. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes and said. Now, the contradiction between the two sides had become obvious. He was originally in the dark, and that young devil was in the light. But now, he had completely exposed himself because of Yu Lian's matter. He couldn't hide anymore. At the same time, the young devil was also aware of Yi Shiwen's existence. Now it could be said that both sides would fight to the death, so one of them had to die. The Devil King's inheritance couldn't exist for two people at the same time. Although Yi Shiwen wasn't very interested in the Devil King's inheritance, but he was determined to obtain the things left behind by the Devil King. Only by obtaining the treasures of the Devil King would he be able to make rapid progress. Let's go find the Angel's sword first. With the Angel sword in hand, your strength will increase a lot, Yemo said. The three of them immediately rushed in the direction of the Angel's sword without any hesitation. The Angel sword is a treasured sword forged by the Demon King. This was forged before he achieved the Tao, including the 9 Underworld Royal Flag, Violent Thunder Spear, Berserk Blade, etc. They are all the same. Otherwise, with the strength of the Demon King after achieving the Tao, even a piece of scrap iron can't be only at this level. Yemo said. He followed the Demon King in the past, so he was very clear about these things. The Angel's sword is a very special sword. You should know about the 8 king clans of the Devil Realm, Yemo said. Yi Shiwen nodded. Next to him, Yu Lian was also listening quietly. She wasn't very clear about these things, because when the Demon King forged these instruments, she hadn't developed spiritual wisdom yet. It was only later that she slowly developed spiritual wisdom. But it was different from the human race. Once a human was born, they would have complete spiritual wisdom. However, the spiritual wisdom of these instrument spirits was slowly condensed and perfected little by little. Even many instrument spirits themselves had huge flaws. Therefore, many people like to capture living creatures and refine them into the instrument, just like the emergence immortal exterminating saber in Yi Shiwen's hand. The Fallen Angel clan had just entered the Devil Realm and had not yet made a name for themselves as one of the 8 royal clans. At that time, the Demon King had fought with the ancestor of this clan and had a deep understanding. The two became good friends because of this. That good friend also told some of his experience to the Demon King. At that time, the Demon King forged this angel sword. Moreover, this angel sword is not only a celestial device, but also a set of Angel Clan's cultivation method. It is a set of very powerful Angel Clan's sword technique. It is a sword technique created by the ancestor of the Angel Clan. Don't you want to pretend to be an angel now? If you learn this set of sword technique, it is more than enough to pretend to be an Angel Clan. Moreover, only by using this set of sword technique can the Angel Sword's power be exerted to the extreme. Otherwise, this Angel Sword is just an ordinary sharp weapon. It is nothing at all, Yemo said. You might have mentioned the name of the ancestor of the Angel Clan one day. He is called Lucifer. You had come to the Devil Race before. Do you remember that little girl of the Fallen Angel Clan? She should be a member of Lucifer's family, if my guess isn't wrong. Lucifer. He had figured everything out. He had known Ling Fei at that time. She had always wanted to accept him as a slave. However, that had been a very long time ago. In fact, even he had somewhat forgotten about it. However, he had completely recalled it after Yemo had mentioned it. It was normal to think about it at this time. Ling Fei was very naughty. However, she obviously had an extraordinary background. So, it wouldn't be strange if she had been born in Lucifer's family. The population of the Fallen Angel clan hadn't been very prosperous among the 8 Great King clans. However, every single member of the Fallen Angel clan was a genius. In fact, the number of peerless geniuses among them was like a school of carps crossing the river. They were innumerable. Therefore, the Fallen Angel clan had been able to become one of the 8 Great King clans even though they didn't have a Devil King. And Lucifer's family was the royal family of the Fallen Angel clan. So, their status in the Fallen Angel clan was incomparable. So, that's how it is, Yi Shuwen muttered. He couldn't help but find it somewhat funny. He had been like a small shrimp at that time. However, he had gotten to know the little princess of the Fallen Angel clan. You mustn't underestimate the power techniques of the Fallen Angel clan. They haven't produced a Demon King level expert so far. But do you know why? Lucifer was one of the strongest experts under the Demon King at that time. The Demon King had defeated Lucifer and had smoothly confirmed his Tao. However, Lucifer had suffered serious injuries in that battle. So, he had gone into seclusion. The Demon King had come to the Devil world afterwards and had bestowed the Fallen Angel clan with the status of a royal family. And the Fallen Angel clan had been able to gain a foothold in the Devil world after that. And it had become one of the 8 great clans. The Fallen Angel clan had also dispatched many experts to follow the Demon King on his expeditions in many worlds. Lucifer had suffered serious injuries in that battle. So, he had gone into seclusion. Later, the Demon King had come to the Devil world and had bestowed the Fallen Angel clan the status of a royal family. This had allowed the Fallen Angel clan to gain a foothold in the Devil world and become one of the 8 royal clans. The Fallen Angel clan had also sent many experts to follow the Demon King on his expeditions in many worlds. So, he hadn't been at the same level as her. Yemo said, Lucifer might have been able to confirm his Tao as the Demon King if he hadn't suffered serious injuries in that battle. And the Devil world would have belonged to the 2 sovereigns at that time. However, the Devil world would have been in constant turmoil if that had happened. These were secrets from countless years ago. In this world, besides EMO, there was probably no one who could live for so long and know so many things. Even Yu Lian was no exception. When she gave birth to her consciousness, Yemo was already a character whose might shook the world. He followed the Demon Lord to battle all over the world, and was not on the same level as her. How come there are so many fallen angels? Yishuan couldn't help but ask. These were secrets from countless years ago. In this world, apart from Yemo, no one could live for so long and know so many things. Even Yu Lian was no exception. When she was born with consciousness, Yemo was already a powerful figure in the world. He had followed the Demon King to battle all over the world, and was not on the same level as her. How come there are so many fallen angels? Yishuan couldn't help but ask. Yu Lian said, this is an array in the angel's sword. Although its spirit has been erased, it still doesn't allow anyone to approach it casually. Once someone approaches it, this array will be activated. You can only get the recognition of the angel's sword as its master by breaking through these fallen angels. I can't do anything about it. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.